All right, let's get into this. Let's see. First, we're going to get into Candace Owens' last stream. I haven't went over Candace in a long time. Seems to just drag out, I guess. There's some things that have been going on with Erica Kirk as well. So yeah. Apparently she no-showed because of a threat, quote unquote. I don't know. But yeah, so we're going to get into it. Make sure you guys double tap that screen, show some love and support. Appreciate you guys for being here. Much love to everybody. Hope y'all are having a good start to the week. Let's get it going. Let's get a super chat goal up. Let's do any color, bro. It is what it is. We'll do it for 3 hours. Let a little bit more people get in here. Welcome in, everybody. Let's see. All right. All right, I think we're good. We're gonna get into this. I haven't watched Candace in a minute. Apparently she's gonna be talking about something with Tyler Robinson's grandfather, a leaked audio or something. I don't know. I've been out for a week. I haven't been paying attention, so we're just gonna get her done and figure it out and continue on. So we'll just do this. All right.
All right, you guys, happy Monday. A super happy Monday, actually, because I'm out of my boot finally. I'm free. And of course, we go off air on Friday, and then Trump begins tweeting me again from Air Force One this time. I honestly am not quite sure what triggered his little meltdown, but apparently he says, I am dying fast. So I got to get my affairs in order. 2 tweets from the leader of the free world about how I am a nobody. I think that's 4 tweets in total. I feel like maybe the opposite might be true. But first, we have exclusive audio of Tyler Robinson's grandfather, the original owner of the rifle that was found after Charlie Kirk was killed, the one that the bomb dogs couldn't detect because their noses malfunctioned that day. The one that the feds led the police officers to, the rookie police officers to, after the dogs had already searched that particular area. Wouldn't it be kind of interesting to hear what Grandpa thinks? Does he think Tyler Robinson is guilty? Do you think Tyler Robinson is guilty? Let's find out. Welcome back to Candace.
Oh my
On
goodness, now I'm gonna
Friday.
get
It was on
copywritten. I
Instagram,
wasn't even
also
paying
on
attention,
X.
damn it. I wasn't even paying attention. Now I'm gonna get copywritten for that music. I gotta cut it out.
So
Damn
of
it.
course, we were not on air during Tyler Robinson's continuance hearing, and I was just being driven crazy. So thank you, especially to all the people in our book club who allowed me to vent about it for a little bit. I was pretty fired up. Anyway, first things first, a sleuth contacted me from the courthouse of a Tyler Robinson hearing. They were able to record Tyler Robinson's grandfather while he was having a conversation with the reporter, Elizabeth Lane. Now, out of courtesy, I did alert Elizabeth Lane that I was sent this and that I was in possession of the recording and that I intended to use it. She said that she had already sort of spoken about her conversation with him, so I think we are in the all clear here, but apparently there was a break during the hearing and someone was lingering behind Tyler's grandfather and a group of people as he spoke to Elizabeth. And what he has to say is quite interesting. And foremost, before we play it, I want to just say that his presence in general should interest you, right? Because we have been told by many liars on the internet that Tyler Robinson's family does not support him. To the contrary, they turned him in, remember? They recognized Grandpa's gun on the news. Dad or mom recognized Grandpa's gun on the news, which is weird because the news did not actually release a photo of Grandpa's gun. They just released a photo of something similar. Anyways, the story goes, according to the liars, that they then convinced him to turn himself in. They think their son's guilty. They're going to testify against him. Now, I have told you from the very beginning that that is simply not true, that his father does not believe that he did it. His grandmother has spoken to journalists, and she said that she does not believe that he did it. Rather, and also I should say, Sheriff Brooksby did admit that rather the truth is that Tyler Robinson was essentially coerced to go in, right? We can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way sort of a situation. He and his family were told that they were going to make an arrest either way. And if he didn't want the SWAT team or whoever it is that comes in to bang down the door and hold a weapon to his face and put his parents at risk, then he better do things the easy way. But like I said, the question here is, what does his grandfather think? Because he knows that gun. It's his gun, right? It's a family heirloom. It is his gun, or was his gun, before it was passed down to Tyler Robinson. So he knows that weapon better than anyone. Let's take a listen. And of course, I'm accounting for sound. We've tried to use AI, bring the voices up and get rid of the background sound. Here's what his grandfather had to say briefly at the hearing.
Someone had a stash of eating it.
Oh, they did? Like crappy food or?
Just snacks.
Yeah. What are you guys for Tyler? What are you for Tyler or the other side?
Grandparents.
Oh, your grandparents? Oh,
I'm really sorry you're going through this.
yeah. It's tough for you guys.
Yeah, it sucks. But we're here to support them. So.
Yeah. We think your grandchild is absolutely framed, but I'm an investigative journalist, so.
We think your grandchild's absolutely framed. That's crazy. Morning, Skip.
Well, I can see. I'm not remember what for the us actually do.
Man, you know, your guns, like, I can tell you that you're very right. That's why,
And
yeah,
my dad was a cop for years.
yeah.
And we showed him all of this.
Yeah, of course, but
Oh, hold up. Hold up. Granddad says that he is here to support. He's here to support his grandson. It sounds like he is of the same opinion as Tyler Robinson's grandmother, that he did not do this, that he was not capable of doing this. And for clarity, Grandpa asserts that he himself is a hunter, right? He also says that his father, so that would be Tyler Robinson's great-grandfather, was a cop for a while in that town who taught him ballistics. And he says that that is not what a 30-06 would do. Now, that is evident to everyone. Everyone keeps focusing on, of course, our big reveal that the 30-06 did not go through. But the part that you're missing is it also did not cause any significant damage. Okay? They had tried to early on, people that were in the hospital making phone calls to various people and saying that Charlie's that basically he almost had no neck left. That was untrue. Those early phone calls that went out to various people, who I will not name because obviously I was in communication with many people that day and we spoke on the phone. We were the ones that got phone calls from the hospital. Initially, they were telling people that Charlie basically had no neck left. That was a huge lie. Outside of the wound, Charlie was in very good shape. And yes, Granddad, that is not what a 30-06 would do. So we're looking at all this.
It's even crazier that the lawyer says we think he was framed, right? We totally think your son was framed, the lawyer said.
Situation, everything that's happened coming into this now probable cause hearing, which is supposed to happen in May, and which they are now meeting at a hearing, as they did on Friday, to say, no, we are not ready to meet in May because we're not being given what we're asking for. So first, let's recap what a probable cause hearing is, right? That's important. It's important that you understand what a probable cause hearing is. And you will recall, you can go back in my older episode, you will recall that after my sit down with Erica, I dutifully reported to you all that when I asked Erica what evidence she had that Tyler Robinson, that had convinced her that Tyler Robinson had committed this crime, since she had been publicly representing that she was so confident that he was the guy. She was telling Barry Weiss, yes, 100%. My assumption was that Erica and her counsel had access to more information than the public, right? That was my assumption. Something that was a slam dunk, like a video of Tyler Robinson, a very clear video of that's our guy, Tyler Robinson, none of this grainy nonsense. Maybe a video of him taking the shot, right? That would make me, as the widow, say, I am 100% certain that's the guy. Something along those lines would have gone a very long way in terms of explaining her certainty, which she expressed throughout multiple media interviews, actually. But to my shock, she phoned her lawyer, as I told you, and he explained that actually they had nothing more than the public had. And then he went through great pains to explain to me very slowly what exactly a probable cause hearing was, because he was kind of making it seem like, oh, well, we don't have more than the public has. Don't you know how this thing works? And he explained to me that they were in the period where the state was supposed to go out and find the evidence. So they don't have any evidence yet. Remember, that's December 15th. I'm sitting down with them. No, we don't have any evidence more than the public has, but we're now in the period where the state is going to go find
the fact that the St. Federal is insane as well.
Evidence. And then once they find that evidence, he told me they're going to hand it over to the defense. They're going to hand it over to Tyler Robinson's team so that they could prepare arguments. They get to see the evidence and prepare arguments. Of course, you're the defendant. And then they present the probable cause hearing. That is what I was told by Erica's lawyer on December 15th. So to put it in layman terms, the goal for the prosecution in this probable cause hearing is to say, Your Honor, look at all of this evidence that we have gathered. That's our guy. There is, in fact, probable cause for us to continue this case. There's enough proof that that young man should continue to be held in prison as this trial moves forward. And if you're playing defense, the goal is the exact opposite. The goal is to say, Your Honor, the evidence that they have presented is actually fraudulent. These text messages, yeah, they're fake. They made these on AI, and here's the proof. So yeah, it might be relevant that at the recent public hearing for the continuance, we learned from Tyler Robinson's team that they can't actually make any arguments on the defense because the FBI is refusing to hand over the evidence that they have been requesting for this supposed to be probable cause evidentiary hearing, okay? All the FBI is giving is their summary reports. I, Kash Patel, say that this is the gun. Trust me, bro. Love Cash App, okay? Take a listen to Tyler Robinson's defense attorney, Richard Novak, explain that, yeah, they have the summary reports, but we don't have the data, the proof, the chain of custody to show that any of this is real. Take a listen.
What is actually outstanding is, yes, but most importantly, the data, the electronic quantification, digitization
We'll go over the court proceeding too as well after we watch this Candace stream.
of physical evidence taken from our client and certain objects that leads these forensic examiners to conclude that there are matches. Mr. McBride says, oh, there's two different things, and so they're both right because they each independently reach the same conclusion, but they're testing different objects in different labs with different protocols. We don't even have those data. Without those data files, we can't even start to analyze, to understand, to appreciate the conclusions, the statistical analyses, the results of those tests. So yeah, the bench notes and the protocols that were followed, yeah, that's all important, but we don't even have the data files. And there's no reason that I am aware of that has been provided why the ATF and the FBI, first of all, the ATF, why they provided it in the last 3 weeks, and why the FBI still hasn't. And so I don't think it's going to be a dribble of this and that and this and that. It should have all been produced, some of it 6 months ago, because we have DNA reports from September of 2025 that Mr. Gray relied upon for his information.
Yeah. They instantly came out and said, this is our guy, 33 hours. And they were basing it on evidence. And for some reason, they were unable to get that evidence over to the defense.
Anyone that's coming in that's new to the stream, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button with the notification bell. Join the See Me Now family. Make sure you guys double tap that screen, get those likes up, say what's up in the chat. Appreciate you guys for being here. Much love.
Now, it actually gets worse because the prosecution, we learn, is planning to present 35 exhibits at the probable cause hearing. 35, let's call that pictures, if you will. Which will, of course, we can assume include the text messages that they very early on released to the public, right? The ones that sounded like they fell out of a Jane Austen novel. My love, this, that, I did everything, he A to Z. Well, of course, we were first told that those were Discord messages, but now they are text messages. And you're about to hear Kathy Nestor assert, that's another person on Tyler Robinson's team, that they have not yet even been given access to Tyler Robinson's phone. Could you imagine going into a hearing and they're going to be like, look at these text messages. This proves he did it. And you didn't even get access to your client's phone, because I'm assuming obviously they took his phone. Take a listen to her say that.
I also have not been able to get into my client's phone. The electronics that we have required an expert because they're so massive, we had to all get these huge hard drives shipped to us from our digital expert. I have not looked at my client's phone, and that concerns me, especially because the state's indicated they may call individuals uniquely connected to my client. I'm not going to say who, because I don't want to commit you guys if you call them or not. But we've been given the names of some witnesses they may call, and what is on my client's phone I think is going to be really important.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really important too, because that's what everybody has been saying is the slam dunk proof. He confessed at all of these messages. Oh, we're going to bring up Tyler, we're going to bring up Lance Twiggs to talk about these messages that he received, and the defense can't prepare any arguments because they have no forensic information regarding whether, I don't know, was Lance holding both phones at the same time and texting himself? Did it actually happen on Discord? Did it happen on the phone at all? Did they make up these text messages entirely? Did the feds make them up? Right? Because I could make up screenshots right now and claim that these were real messages, but only an expert, a forensic expert that's given access to electronics, could determine if they were real, where they were sent from, all of the data, the location, to make sure that everything is authentic. Now, remember, this is supposed to be, we are told, a state case. But of course, we all remember the FBI immediately interjected. They took over everything on September 10th. They handled all of the interviews. And so what that means is that the State Bureau of Investigations, okay, that's the SBI, basically has their hands tied behind their back. They've said that. We have our hands tied behind our back. We are essentially waiting, the defense is explaining that the SBI is waiting for the FBI, Kash Patel's agency, to send them over their many discovery requests from everything they gathered on that day. And they're just not doing it in a timely fashion. Kathy Nestor even claims that they haven't even seen the gun. Imagine just getting a picture. This is the gun. Your client fired. Like, okay, can I see it? Here's a picture, man. Just trust Kash Patel. He could very much be trusted. Take a listen.
We went to examine physical evidence this past week, this week. It took us 6 hours. We did finish what the SBI has. However, we still have never seen the gun. The gun is at Quantico. So we've never been able to look at the gun. I actually think that's really important.
Well, duh. I mean, you're going to want to see the gun, dude. Like, what's crazy to me is this. If there really is like some sort of people who are trying to, let's say, cover up evidence and keep evidence to themselves and yada, 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 like say the FBI, they're recording in the courtroom. Everything's going to be documented. It seems like it's all jumbled up to me. Like, will they get the gun eventually? Probably. But they're going to set up, if he is framed, this is just a hypothetical, because in that audio we just heard a few moments ago, I don't know if that was their lawyer or someone else saying, we completely think that, your grandson is framed, right? We don't think he did it. And, the reason why they're keeping that gun could be to plant things, to plant evidence, and the reason why they're only, getting these, we'll say little pieces of evidence, like pictures and stuff like that, is to kind of delay and give more time for them to do what they want to do with the evidence, right? Not only you see the gun, but for the forensic analysis of the bullet that matches the gun to it. Exactly. And not only that, but I mean, you got to think about, they want to go over autopsy. They want to go, like you said, they want to go over the bullet, compare it to the damage done to the body, do the forensics to see if the bullet does match the gun, all this other stuff. See if the gun, not only that, but when are we, because, usually in these court cases, when we're watching them live in the courtroom, we see some sort of video evidence that we didn't see prior to the court proceeding, but we see it when they stream the court proceeding, right? I wonder if they're not going to show the video of the rooftop, right, where the shot was taken. Are they going to be showing these camera angles, or are they just going to be hidden, right?
Purposes of the hearing. So I have some concerns about that.
Why is the gun being kept at Quantico in Virginia? Why is the gun being kept with the feds for a state case? Why doesn't the SBI have that? Why are they getting trickled down information from Kash? Can anybody make sense of any of that?
And that's what's crazy, and that's what everybody's thinking as well, is like, with this administration, Kash Patel reports directly to the president. The attorney general, reports directly to the president. And the thing is it is weird. Why is it that in a state case where the state's handling the case and he's being tried within the state of Utah, why is it that the feds are involved in handling all this evidence and handling all this other stuff? That is not how it works. So yeah, it's completely ass backwards, and it says a lot to me.
I mean, the important thing that I want to stress to you is how abnormal it is that the prosecution, Erica's team, because she's listed as the victim, is arguing against a continuance. I am, as you know, perpetually involved in lawsuits. Continuances are basically like common courtesies when you're this early on in a lawsuit, right? Suddenly an attorney can't make it because he's got some personal emergency. Oh, actually, I'm going to be on vacation that week. So-and-so just found out that his trial is going to be moved that week because, lawyers are doing various trials at the same time. I have never, in all of my personal experience, even when the lawyers hated each other, okay? Like my lawyers did not get along with Daily Wire lawyers, okay? One in particular, really not like him. Always just common courtesy. Yeah, we can bump the date to something that works for all sides. Right, because we want to get to the truth and a conclusion.
That's the shitty part about court, is like it's just a complete, disaster when it comes to scheduling and then all this other stuff.
In here, we don't need to try cheap shots and oh yeah, I can't honor the fact that you have a surgery, your son has a surgery on that day, or this is going on, whatever it is. So this is in fact extraordinary. It's extraordinary the prosecution is arguing this, especially since they all agreed early on that they were happy to adjust the date if they did not get the discovery met. Okay. So I do also want to address the many people who were wondering after I did my little rant on Instagram how it is that Erica can assert her right to a speedy trial, something that we all know is constitutionally guaranteed for defendants in cases you have a right to a speedy trial. To note this, and for clarity, Erica Kirk is in fact listed as the official victim in this case. Okay. On January 16th, she then filed a motion for a speedy trial in Utah. I can show you that. You can see this. It says a motion, an invocation of speedy trial rights. This was unusual. The key thing that you have to remember of how this is possible is this is a state trial, not a federal one. The state of Utah has its own codes for victims, which include a victim's right to a speedy trial. Again, that's a state code. So that's how she's able to maneuver that. And I remember when I saw that news, when it broke back in January, I couldn't really comprehend it. It was so atypical to me because common sense, of course, a defendant, okay, doesn't want to be sitting in jail. So a defendant usually wants the trial to be speedy. Rarely do you hear the prosecution, I'm going to file a thing that I want this to be speedy. The defendant sitting in jail like, yeah, man, me too. I don't want to just like live here. I'd like it to be as fast as possible. So I was wondering, why is Erica needing to assert something that is kind of self-evident, right? Well, now looking at everything and having paid attention to this hearing, it just makes more sense to me. I believe this is fully the prosecution strategy. I believe they do not have a case. I am in contact with many people all throughout the state of Utah, okay? I think they want a show trial. I think Erica's team wants a show trial. They do not want to hand over crucial or critical evidence before the probable cause hearing. Instead, they want to pretend they're being transparent. They want to demand cameras inside of the courtroom and then deliver the show trial, the show hearing.
Welcome in, Brody. Much love to you, bro. Yeah, I was gone for a week, so I'm not surprised the stats are like this. But yeah, anyone that's new to the stream, man, make sure you hit that subscribe button with notification bell and double tap that screen. Show some love and support, man. Help propel me into the algorithm. Join the See Me Now family. And yeah, and also I feel like my algorithms kind of changed. Usually when I went live early in the morning, it was like right off rip, I got, views. But then when I was doing lives at 2 o'clock, I got views too. So I feel like it's more in between. I feel like the views kind of go up around, what time is it? Yeah, around like 10:30 to 12:30 about. I don't know.
Of the century, right? With the defense completely unable to meaningfully counter anything that they present, right? They would be up there. Look at these text messages, Your Honor. Look at he said he did it. He did it 3 times. And it felt good, Your Honor, that he did this. Not mentioned. We haven't actually proven that these messages are real. Look at this gun, Your Honor. Look at this. Do you admit that this is your gun? Do you recognize this gun? Not mentioned. The defense has never seen the gun. We're actually hiding it at Quantico. And we can't even prove that this weapon was fired, actually, on the day of Charlie's assassination. We can't prove that. Bomb dog, their noses were malfunctioning. That's my honest opinion when I look at everything that's happening in the state of play. The prosecution wants to rush the public into a show trial because they have already proven that they have the commentariat on lock. All of these people on the internet who will hysterically claim that the evidence is overwhelming.
And this is kind of a situation too where I don't know if you guys have ever heard the term, but it's sometimes it's not about the evidence, it's about what is believable to the jury, like what you can present that presents a story. What is the story that makes more sense or that you can make sense, right? So basically what she's saying is that like with all these pictures, with all this evidence per se, they're just gonna narrate it, put out this narrative and continue to try and just kind of talk their way around it all in a way to make the jury seem convinced that that even though that the defense hasn't seen the gun, well, the evidence, like she's saying, is so overwhelming. What they're saying makes so much sense. It couldn't be anything else. And that unfortunately happens in a lot of cases, and that's why some people get convicted of stuff they didn't do. And I'm sure that's what they're gonna do. If the gun doesn't match the bullet, if like in the prior audio we just heard Tyler Robinson's grandfather saying, I know ballistics, my dad was a cop, he showed me all the ballistics, I'm a hunter, I know what rifles do. Like if there's any juror with any common sense, they're gonna say not guilty, right? It only takes one. But um, yeah, they're most likely gonna try and make it like, look, here's the evidence, here's the pictures, here's the videos. He did it. Boom, bam, bang.
overwhelming and astounding and undeniable. It's so overwhelming. I can't even hear anything else. It's just so overwhelming that Tyler Robinson did this alone on a rooftop. And I want to be clear that that is horrific. That is horrific that they are
Make sure you
willing
guys
to
like
do
the
that.
stream, man. Double tap the
Because
screen.
what are
If
they
double
doing
tapping
there,
doesn't work,
actually,
hit
in
the
effect?
three dots in the
What they are
top right corner
doing
and hit the like button.
is they are remanding an increasingly plausibly innocent young man, a 22-year-old, to his death. Okay? He is facing the death sentence.
You know, and one thing I will say too is seeing Tyler Robinson in court and like seeing him on video and stuff like that. Like he's smiling and you know, he's looking kind of chill. To me, it's like if I was in court and I didn't do this just to play devil's advocate, you know, you think he'd look more concerned or more like, get me out of here. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, you know, he'd look more urgent. But he just kind of has this stone cold look to his face. So, I don't know, man. We can go down a bunch of conspiracies, MK Ultra, all this other stuff, but he kind of seems emotionless when you see him in court.
So you better be pretty sure when you are out here saying that this is his gun and he did it and the evidence is overwhelming that you know what you're talking about, that you are actually involved and reading the documents. What they're saying is they would be comfortable sending this kid to the gallows because, well, they're getting paid to influence people that way. Yep, clearing a 5K check, 7K check, I'll take it, whatever. If he's got to die, he's got to die. That is not the karma that I would want hanging over my head and in my life, okay? You inevitably reap what you sow. You want to foster this sort of a
Could you imagine the energy in that courtroom? Like whoever's in that courtroom, like reporters and even like, you know, the defense and the jurors, like could you imagine the energy that's in that room when Tyler Robinson walks in or like when they're presenting the case? Like there's got to be a profound amount of energy in there and tense like, you know, the tension's so thick you can cut it with a knife type deal.
legal system that just can pay journalists to pretend and influencers to pretend that they're anxiety induced looking at the evidence that isn't there. That will come back to bite you. I promise you. You reap what you sow. I don't know how they do it. I am not capable of lying in that way. But we will see what happens because apparently we are in generation lie right to your face, or really in an era. I shouldn't say to generation, but it's certainly an era. It's a turning point era. In the turning point era's tour, to have one day, it was just different eras. You know, it was like the just Charlie Kirk era, and he was talking about free markets and capitalism. Then it was like the Erica and Charlie era, and suddenly it's all about faith. But these pastors are looking kind of shady. Looking a little bit shady, right? What kind of pastors these are. I don't know what I would dress up to the Era's tour for these pastors.
Welcome in, Stuck in Reno. And you know, one thing I gotta say too is, you know, and I just think about this stuff. Like when we look into Rob McCoy or all these other pastors and people who are in TPUSA that we find to be sketchy and we find their backgrounds kind of crazy. In my mind, it's like, how is it that they got to be on the position they are when Charlie was there? Because don't you think that he would be more amped to do a background check or check into someone's background or their past and see who they are? Because it's kind of weird that after Charlie gets assassinated, we're finding all this out now as if it's something new. Like, you know, it has a weird energy to it. Welcome in, Stacy. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm feeling a bit better. I'm still feeling like crap, but not like I was, man. Like, I just can't get on the camera when I'm feeling like I was. And then my daughter was in the hospital from it too. So it was just a long week, but we're back. We're back like crack. Gonna hit you like a heart attack. Hit that subscribe button. I got your back with the notification bell so you can always come back. Double tap that screen. And make sure you guys I do have a super chat goal up of 10 super chats, any color. So 10 super chats, any color. Get your name written on the donor wall. Help support the channel. Appreciate you guys for being here. Welcome in, Two Pistols. Welcome back. I agree, Kirk was sacrificed. It's pretty evident. And I don't understand how they don't like think or know that we would think something's up when it's a state-handled case, but the feds are overseeing the gun in Quantico and other evidence. Like, yeah, I mean, like I said, and I've always said this, they just think they can do it in our face, and we won't care. We won't know. They'll just be like, well, whatever. TikTok brain. They'll forget about it.
moving weapons if you wanted to. And right now they are definitely in their lying a lot era. Okay. Now, despite the fact that we learned last week that the Secret Service could not accommodate Erica Kirk, she did not feel safe, despite them telling her that she was perfectly safe in Georgia. She got back on her plane despite already being there. And she just didn't trust them, right? She didn't think the Secret Service could handle it, despite them saying no threat. That was Tuesday of last week. By Friday, gratefully, Erica was all better. She decided that the threats to her life and livelihood could, in fact, be
Here's how I feel. Drewski just needs to do another parody, man.
taken care of. They could actually be assuaged by the Secret Service. And so she opened for Trump at the Dream City Church in Phoenix. Now, since we all know that the real reason that she canceled the event at the University of Georgia was because of the crowd size, this makes perfect sense. It also makes perfect sense that the very first thing that she said when she came out onto the stage with her preferred WWE music was this. Take a listen.
I'm going to get copywritten for this music, bro. YouTube, I do not own the rights to this music, and I will cut it out when we're done. God damn.
It's like Drewski.
Okay, we all know how she came out, okay?
Crowd.
That's what it's about. That is what it's about. It's about the crowd, okay? It's about the crowd. That's why she canceled on JD and made him look like a fool. Now, in case you're thinking, well, maybe she kept this particular engagement with Trump because it's in her hometown. It's in Phoenix, Arizona. It's in her backyard. You should know that you would be wrong, because on this very same day, on Friday of last week, as she was preparing to do this event with Trump, and yes, that obviously we all know Turning Point USA.
Keep liking the
is located
stream,
there.
guys. I appreciate y'all for running up the likes.
Her Turning Point team canceled her appearance at Pinnacle High School, which was slated to occur this week, but they canceled it on Friday. And the reason that they again gave was death threats against Erica's life. Let's read that email that went out. Again, this went out from Turning Point. Hey everyone, I wanted to share some important news about the event with Erica Kirk. Unfortunately, we are unable to host her at Pinnacle High School after school due to serious death threats that she has received over the past few days. We are taking her security extremely seriously, as these threats are not empty, and we must prioritize Erica's safety and well-being. I sincerely apologize for this change, but it is crucial that we ensure a safe environment for everyone involved. Okay, so she can't make it to the high school, but she can make it to the Trump rally because she knows there's going to be a crowd. Then she can pretend the crowd was for her, even though it's for Trump. And I got to say, for Trump, it's kind of a small crowd. Okay, I've seen Trump sell out stadiums. Like, that's not a big crowd for Trump. But whoa, look at this crowd all here to see me. And she's again using a death threat thing. Gratefully, it was not me that had to clock her on this lie. I'm so grateful it wasn't me this time. The entire media apparatus actually came down and told the truth. No, she did not cancel because of death threats. She canceled because there was a boycott, which was led by the parents and the teachers and the students who do not want Erica Kirk at their school. She is not favored by the students, okay? Just like she's not favored by the people who work under her. Here's a Newsweek headline. They wrote, Erica Kirk's high school talk sparks furious backlash from parents. That's reality.
Because you already know, like, kids are smart, right? And every time they go to a event and there's a college event and they're taking questions, it's about Israel. It's about, Israel controlling America, the wars going on, Charlie Kirk. Like, it's all questions that typically they don't like the answer, but they're doing it because they have to. But what I must say is these kids are smart. So when they're at school, like the narrative going around what about not believing the goy slop or the Fed slop, they're all talking and they're not stupid. So when there's certain schools that, Turning Point's going to show up to or Erica's going to show up to, there's going to be a conversation of, are we even going to go? Oh shit. Are we even going to go? Because we don't trust this. We don't trust Erica, right? We don't trust the narrative. We don't even want her here because why would we attend, right? Like, it's not rocket science. And especially in high schools or whatever, these kids aren't stupid. And they're some of the most smart people when it comes to realizing shit and waking up. And it's not just happening in schools, it's happening everywhere. But that's the thing is, Charlie went to colleges. Charlie went to other places. But these same places that Charlie went, that supported Charlie, now do not support Erica because of what's going on. So it's just gonna backfire in Erica. She's not really ever gonna, like, eventually I see her barely even able to book a show. And of course there are going to be times where she can book a appearance, and there are going to be people that want to go just to go or whatever. But I feel like eventually when they start waking up more and things start changing more, that Erica's going to end up being like, well, we just won't do appearances because, she has an ego. You can tell she has an ego. Like, I don't know if you guys seen the video, but there was a video of Erica Kirk and Karen Levitt, or whatever her name is, the White House speaker, up on stage, and a kid fact checked them. And their faces were like, oh my God, like, this kid just fact checked me. Like, why'd he do that? That's, you can tell it pissed him off because they always have to be right. Whatever they say is right. You can't, go against their narrative, or you're just a hater or a person that's a conspiracy theorist or whatever. Yeah, I just see her ego really taking over her opportunities.
Reality. Here's a Daily Beast. High school moves Erica Kirk event off campus after students revolt. That is reality. Here is the local Arizona Republic. A high school group invited Erica Kirk to campus. Parents are not happy. That is the reality. When you read actually read these articles, what they're telling you is the truth. I showed you last week they were organizing on Facebook. I've never, by the way, asked anybody to boycott, do nothing with Erica Kirk. So don't pretend like people are doing this because of me. They are doing this because they find her to be increasingly unbelievable, right? She's not authentic. She's not like Charlie Kirk. She doesn't have the Charlie Kirk factor. She has approached everything like an elitist, like she was born for this role, and everyone all hail Queen Erica. And how dare you notice that I've lied about all of my qualifications and about who I am and where I come from and how I was raised. How dare you?
Make sure you guys keep liking the stream, man. Show some love and support. Appreciate you guys for being here. God bless everybody. Jesus is king. Show some love and support, man.
That is not going to click with the general public. So yes, you can continue to hide behind Donald Trump, which is going to be her new move. She's going to have to essentially just keep opening up for Donald Trump and people that are bigger than her. I mean, she could open up for Drewski. She could probably open up for Tucker Carlson, and there would be a crowd there. But Erica cannot draw a crowd by herself yet. Maybe there's going to be a moment where she decides to be honest, sit down, say, here's all my text messages with everybody, and let me answer every question about why I behaved like that. Maybe she'll do 3 hours with Joe Rogan. He thinks she's weird too, but maybe she'll sit down and she'll just go, yeah, I shouldn't have done that, and here's the reason why, and I did do that, and yeah, I did actually lead all those early attacks against Candace quietly that she found out about. Yeah, I did call people fake crying and telling them not to go to the Catholic event she was speaking at. I know I've been playing nice, but I'm actually a little bit evil. I'm a little bit evil. I'm kind of possessed. And then people will go, wow, that was really honest. I like that, because there's even something relatable about someone who just kind of is openly honest, right? It feels less manipulative. I said that. I was speaking to someone and I said, we all knew Hillary Clinton was evil, right? She's got a past. Like when Trump was like, she should be in prison. I mean, now Trump should definitely be like in prison, right? But she still had a real following. That was not imagined. I mean, I had people that were at war with each other, people that were voting for her, tons of women. She had the feminist movement behind her. That was a real audience. That was not imagined. There was no illusion. That was not special effects. Hillary Clinton definitely had a following, but we knew she was evil. Why? Because there is something even relatable about evil when it's honest, you know? Hillary Clinton's like, I am just ambitious. And I will say this, Hillary Clinton was smart. She wasn't playing the part. Would she have like totally made Bill step aside? 100%, 1000%. Who knows what she, like it was, you know, their relationship, as Elizabeth Lane said, nobody's ever accused him of being in love. She was highly ambitious, but she is highly intelligent. She is infinitely more intelligent than Bill. Okay. She knows policy. She knows what she's doing. She is, in fact, if we're talking about just based on intellect and experience, she would be qualified to hold a position in cabinet as she did. Like that's not crazy. That's not her just being given a crown. Hillary Clinton worked hard in her life, right? No one ever accused Hillary Clinton of being stupid is my point. We are getting something entirely different with Erica, right? We are getting like, especially white male men. And we're being gaslit about that. And we're being told that she's overqualified and she graduated, both she says two different, she says she's graduated summa cum laude. And sometimes she says she's graduated with other honors and nothing has been proven. And they just want us to think that she's Charlie and she's not. So we'll see. We will keep monitoring what is happening. Like I said, these revolts are happening all around the nation. She is actually in effect destroying everything that Charlie built. And we'll see how much longer they limp on and keep up this illusion. Trump can't save you. Trump actually can't even save himself. We'll talk about more regarding Trump when we come back from a brief break. All right, you guys, Mother's Day is one of the most beautiful times of year. We've woken up and we realize it's both sides. It is both sides. We are the big losers. We are the forgotten Americans. And Trump is just doing it dirtier than anybody else. Maybe because it's the last 4 years. He doesn't care. You know, just did some deals with the devils. Doing deals with a lot of devils, actually. We're going to talk about that. And I have to say how sad it is. Like, I was doing today's episode and I like almost forgot that Trump tweeted twice about me on Friday. That's kind of sad, right? That's how you know you're just slipping into irrelevancy. You're the president of the United States, you tweet, and it's not even making the news like it used to because it's just too long. You're just saying too much. No one wants to read it. They don't have time. I have a book club.
You know, and I feel like Trump, back in the beginning of his terms and stuff like that, when he would do tweets and he would do these rants, people were like, oh my God, like that's what makes him awesome is he's so honest and he does these things. And now I feel like people just don't fall for it no more. People are just sick of it. It's like, yeah, keep doing your tweets, bro. Do something that's actually real, you know?
Maybe we'll read it in one of my book club meetings. I have no idea what on earth he was watching aboard Air Force One on Fox News that set off his little spree of anger this time, but he wrote this on Truth Social. I'm on Air Force One, heading to Las Vegas and Arizona for greetings and speeches on no tax on tips, a windfall for our great American citizens. I am watching one of the least attractive and talented people on all of television, Jessica Tarlov. Her voice is so grating and terrible, I had to turn her off. Her Democrat sound bites are fake. She makes up poll numbers and nobody challenges her because she's so boring. I have among the best poll numbers I have ever had, and why shouldn't I? All the country does is win. CNN had me at 100% saying they never saw that before. Get her off air. She is bad for our country. I hear Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, and Candace Owens are dying fast. Their numbers are terrible. Nobody believes them anymore. They were fake MAGA. And now they've been exposed. President DJT. He's definitely not writing these. Just so you guys, this isn't even how he speaks. This is not how he speaks. So I don't know who has access to this feed, but it's not Trump. Okay. It's just not Trump. He had a second tweet as well, a follow-up where I think he called me mentally ill. He called me mentally ill. He mentioned Megyn Kelly again. She didn't get a name that time. Sorry, Megyn. Looks like you're dying fast because I got called like 3 names over the weekend. You only got called 2. So I'm big time now. But it makes you wonder who is actually drafting these messages, who even are Trump's advisors anymore. He used to be surrounded by sane and rational people. Now he is.
Make sure you guys double tap that screen, man. 24 more beautiful people see the like. The stream will be at 50 likes. Let's try and hit 100 today. Appreciate you guys for being here, man.
Accusing people like me and Tucker and Megyn of being irrelevant and mentally ill. Meanwhile, Laura Loomer claims she is his.
That is so how Laura Loomer looks too. If she did the painting of Saw, I would definitely croak over and laugh.
Number one advisor, and she speaks to him almost daily. And that right there might be the biggest clue as to why Trump is behaving like he is off the rails, right? It's kind of like you eventually just become the people that you spend your most time with and you spend your most time speaking to, right? You become an average. And so Charlie Kirk went from, President Trump went from Charlie Kirk, right? Charlie Kirk had his ear to Laura Loomer. And I think you guys need to more fully grasp not just who Laura Loomer is, but what Laura Loomer is, okay? I met Laura Loomer years ago. I was on the way to do one of my first events, the David Horowitz Center, and we happened to be on the same plane. She was crying because Twitter had removed her check mark. This was back when Jack Dorsey had it. Since we lived nearby, I was friendly with her, never had an issue with her because I just don't see a reason to start with people and have issues with people. There are tons of crazy people. And I felt very sad for her too, because she was sort of living in a rented basement in Westchester by herself. And she didn't have any friends that could take her to go get her wisdom teeth out. And she asked me if I could pick her up, right? And I never shared that story because I felt sad for her. Like she had no friends and no family in her life that could pick her up after a procedure that she needed to get done. And I did that, right? And don't worry, because her differing opinion on me on Israel is going to be the reason that she starts attacking me. Now, the first thing that you should know about Laura Loomer is that when people say Laura Loomer is crazy, they're not being funny, right? Laura Loomer is genuinely crazy. We're going to get into that. She's not even Jewish. Her entire identity as being a feisty Jewess is something that she made up around 2019. She told me that she was not Jewish. She told multiple people that she is not Jewish. Her mother is a woman named Joanne Singe. Laura is Irish and English. Obviously, Judaism is matrilineal. She did not.
I don't know, bro. With that nose, I don't know, bro. She looks like she could vacuum my house in one sniff, bro.
She was not raised in temple. She was not bat mitzvahs. She just decided that it was politically expedient to pretend that she was Jewish. She only learned how to draw a Star of David a couple of years ago when she was running for Congress. Okay, here's a clip of her learning to draw a Star of David a couple of years ago. This is your number one Zionist on X. Look at this clip.
All right, there we go.
Very good. They're almost identical. And
No, don't take photos of this. I don't want people to know.
The second thing that you should know is that Laura Loomer has a real mental disorder. Like I said, people, this person's crazy. She's mentally ill, right? Trump says this. No, Laura is actually forbidden to own weapons. She cannot buy weapons. She cannot own them because she was placed on two
She's
involuntary psychiatric holds by
no, never mind. I'm kidding. Sorry. I don't know why that came out.
her own father, who allegedly is very fearful of her because she has had multiple suicide attempts. She attempted recently to file an appeal with the FBI to reverse the banning on her owning weapons, and they declined to remove it, citing the fact that she had been involuntarily placed on psychiatric holds. Now, according to her former campaign manager, Milo Yiannopoulos, who she has never sued and simply blocks, he wrote and published a piece which should be read by everybody. And in that piece, he wrote this, quote, Laura Loomer has been diagnosed at various times and by various doctors as suffering from bipolar disorder, histrionic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, and narcissistic personality disorder. Loomer's mother, whom we are not naming today, is an alcoholic, a manic depressive, and suffers from bipolar disorder in common with her daughter.
Damn, bro. They're just exposing her whole ass fucking psyche val, man. That's the type of woman that she acts nice when you get with her, and it's all like, oh, I got a good girl. And then all of a sudden you wake up with a knife in your fucking chest. And then she'll kiss you after and say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, as you're bleeding out.
Loomer has two brothers. One is a violent schizophrenic who is permanently incarcerated
Allegedly.
in a psychiatric facility. He will never be released. The other also suffers from depression and mood disorders and has been in and out of institutions all his life. Okay, end quote. Now, it's interesting that she's given access to the president of the United States. Everyone sees that this is a fatal attraction. In fact, I am told by people in Melania's circle that they believe, like, yeah, actually the most likely person to harm Donald Trump would be Laura Loomer. And yet this completely somehow evades the president. He allows her in his circle. The question is why? And it's not just that she lies. It's not just that she is bipolar. It's not just that she often says that she's going to commit suicide as a threat when she doesn't get what she wants. But Laura Loomer is also a malignant sexual predator and has been repeatedly accused since the beginning of her career of raping and sexually assaulting men. That is not a typical thing that men come out with, that men come out and say, a woman sexually assaulted me, right? Take, for example, Alan Jacoby. This happened just last week, 10 days ago. He is the founder of Patriot Cigar, and he just tweeted this 10 days ago. Laura Loomer is a sexual predator psychopath. I was, in fact, a victim of her wrath. Loomer and I spent the day with President Trump at Bedminster watching the golf tournament from the president's box. She asked me several times for a selfie. As you can see, that lean line does not lie. She constantly got uncomfortably close to me. She groped me in the parking lot, grabbing my crotch very aggressively and demanding that I come back to her New York City hotel room to engage in some vile, descriptive sexual activities. She's an absolute psychopath who preys on men who she thinks that she can manipulate. She's a menace to society. Again, there are just a long line of men who have come out with a story like this. If you don't believe him, here is a video, if it has been going viral many times, of Laura trying to seduce a young man who is clearly uncomfortable.
Yeah, we went over this one. This one was like wild. And it's obvious that she can't get hints because the way this guy was acting in this video we're about to watch was like, if the roles were reversed and a guy was doing this to a girl, the guy would probably be charged and completely bashed online.
On camera, take a look at this.
Your hair and your eyes look so good. You're like beautiful.
Thank you.
You're like an Aryan degenerate goddess.
Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. You're Aryan too.
I know, but I'm Jewish.
It's okay.
Because you're such a cutie.
Don't mess my hair. God, fix it.
I disagree.
Fix my hair.
I disagree completely.
Did you fix it?
I did. But like that picture you posted on Instagram recently when you got like reinstated on Facebook was so hot. Like, seriously.
I appreciate it.
It's so good.
It's a good picture.
Your skin and the Nazis hate me.
It's fun.
The alt-right people want to put me in a gas chamber because they're obsessed with the Jews.
I think they're just memeing on you, but it's okay.
It's okay.
all right.
I don't care. I love it.
It'd be like that sometimes.
I know. They're just jealous because I have big tits and an Ashkenazi IQ.
Yes, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You got it.
Anyway, next time you're in New York, let me know. We'll hang out. Bring your girlfriend to New York sometime, and we'll all hang out. We'll go to like really cool restaurants and hang out. And we'll have a blast.
Yes,
It'll be so
I will
much
bring
fun.
my girlfriend.
Yeah, I want to meet. What, Becca?
She sounds like Diddy, bro. Like, I'm saying it first here. She sounds like Diddy when 50 Cent said on The Breakfast Club that Diddy offered to take me shopping. That's exactly how Laura seems right now.
Yeah.
Becca.
Yes.
She's so sweet.
You remember?
Yeah, of course.
Yes. You'll meet her.
You guys are so sweet. I hope it works out because, like I said, I know it's all an act. Like, I know everything you do on Twitter is like so fake and not real, but
Yeah,
like,
it's all fake.
it's so sweet that you like and your girlfriend have been together for 3 years. I love it.
I know. It's all an act.
Do you know something? Like, I'm gonna tell you a secret. Like, do you know so many people in this movement who preach trad life are like people on the side and like cheating on their partners? Like,
That's so bad.
Like, they're not even like really trad life.
Such
like,
scum.
like my ex is like dating somebody who's like super trad life, and she was like my boyfriend while we were dating and like ruined our relationship. And I act like it's okay, but like it's really sad because like I love.
Does she not like realize that she's being recorded? Like, is it? She just looked at the camera and was like, "No, I'm gonna keep spewing out this bullshit."
I love when people like keep, tradition in their relationships. It's just really sad.
Milo Yiannopoulos similarly described, and again, he published this, her repeated assault on a young Brazilian man who worked on her campaign. And he's not alleging here, okay? He claims that it is a fact that he can prove through many messages. Take a listen.
Laura Loomer, who's the most insane person, and I was, there was
good friends with Laura too.
Well, no, I was not good friends with Laura. I was loose allies with Laura until I met her, and then when I met her properly and spent time with her, I realized she was absolutely mental. I distanced myself very quickly. I distanced myself because she used to force herself on young male volunteers, 20, 21-year-olds. And she would go in the middle of the night, and I mean, some men will find this to be quite titillating. Although,
yeah, it sounds kind of good.
When you imagine sort of the face of the of the sword doll,
Oh Jesus, I was just gonna say that too.
Just sort of like you pull up the covers and there's the saw doll. I would like to play a game. It's less enticing, but she would climb into bed with these volunteers and them off in the middle of the night. Sorry to use that language, but I did tell you to put your children to bed.
No way. She wouldn't go and sexually assault random guys and just blow them.
Well, I'm telling you because I lived in the pool house with her victim in 2020, who didn't know how to make it stop. He was a young Brazilian volunteer on her 2020 congressional campaign. I know because I helped to run that campaign. Okay, so don't tell me you don't believe it. I was there. She was creeping into bed with him, and she convinced herself that they were in love. And he was coming to me every day saying, "How do I make this stop?"
You say, "Get off me." I mean, that didn't seem that hard. I mean,
yeah, I mean, you would think that, but this is a young guy who's, there are. I never really understood when people.
She leverages her power over these people because they're working for her, and she doesn't know. Yeah.
Talked about power dynamics in rape before. I was like, okay, fine, either you want the sex or you don't, or whatever. But I kind of got it when this young man, which surprised me greatly, said, well, this was Laura Loomer. I didn't know how to say no. I said, what do you mean it's Laura Loomer? He said, well, she's like Laura Loomer. And I said, what does that mean? He's like, well, she might be a congresswoman. Like, I don't know if it's
I'll let this play. I'll be right back. I'm gonna fill my coffee.
okay to like. And so I realized in that moment, especially because it was a man, which was so sort of peculiar and confusing to me. It was bizarre to me, but he meant it, and he was asking me how to make it stop.
There are women who have spoken out and said that this is real, that she has assaulted many men. And like I said, she has never sued any of these people for putting this information out there. Instead, she just blocks them. So the question becomes, why does Donald Trump allow her anywhere near the White House? Okay, maybe the answer can be best summed up in her tweet to Benny Johnson when he said, pray for your enemies. Laura Loomer responded, don't pray for your enemies, Benny. Pray for your enemies to be destroyed and celebrate when they struggle. We don't have time for compassion for evil people. Break them down and conquer them with psychological warfare until they beg for mercy. Do not pray for them. This is Laura Loomer's strategy. She believes in, quote unquote, psychological warfare, which means she makes up vicious rumors about people, like she did when DeSantis was running, and Trump and his campaign found her to be quite useful when she said things like Casey DeSantis is making up cancer. Not something anyone would say, right? No dignity in that. Already going through a lot. You don't say someone's making up cancer, but these are the sorts of things that she does. She starts vicious rumors and she leaves it on the person to come up for air and explain that that's not true. And people typically get flustered. That's what she thinks is going to work on me. Making up AI photos and releasing them of my husband, literal AI photos, and trying to pass them off as authentic so she can make a claim that he's gay, accusing us of being separated like she did this weekend, attacking my children. That was trending. Laura Loomer attacks Candace's children as feud escalates, claiming, as she did today, that my husband got drunk and hit a man in a car while brandishing a gun. This is her tweet, and she named the victim. Here it is. She knows none of this is true. Candace Owens says, I don't land any hits. Mind you, I have to post the screenshot of her reply because she blocked me. I did not block her. What type of hits do you want me to land, Candace? Do you want me to land a hit like your husband, George Farmer, allegedly landed when he allegedly hit, aka crashed into Tracy Robinson's car while he was allegedly driving drunk with an alleged firearm in his possession as a green card holder in Nashville, Tennessee, where you live? Remember Tracy? Sore subject? When are you going to tell your viewers about Tracy Robinson instead of simping for Tyler Robinson? Come on, Candy. Tell everyone who Tracy is, or should I direct them to the courts in Davidson County in Nashville, Tennessee? Well, by all means, I'm happy to tell everybody who Tracy Robinson is. I hadn't thought to do it because I've never met Tracy Robinson. I don't know Tracy Robinson. But certainly I learned his name when Laura dug up the fact that my insurance did pay a Tracy Robinson $6,987. We can show you that right here. As she said, you can find this in the Nashville courts, and it is true. As you can see, a grand total of $6,987 for brandishing a gun and hitting somebody drunk. That sounds like a steal. That sounds like if that were true, people would be out there playing Grand Theft Auto. You could hit people drunk, driving, just vent out some anger and only have to pay $7,000. The reality is my husband got into a fender bender pulling out of a parking lot on a rainy day in broad daylight about noon, I think it was. The police were not even called because two of them got out of the car, said a couple of FUs, calmed down, shook each other's hand and said, it's not worth calling the cops. Mr. Tracy Robinson maybe had a scratch on his car. George said, I'm happy to pay. And they exchanged insurances, drove off. And a couple of days later, Tracy decided he had post-whiplash disorder, went to the doctor, and we had to pay a grand total of $6,987. There was no drinking involved. There was no DUI involved. There were no police called. And yet this is her strategy. This is why Trump uses her, because she is willing to, in her ever-present mental disorder, to go after people's families, to make up rumors, to go after my in-laws, as she has done. She has tagged them. She attacks people who have nothing to do with anything, things that most people will not lower themselves to do. She will do. And like she says, she believes that breaks people psychologically. That's her goal. And Trump uses her as a pit bull. And let me tell you, Trump, you will eventually reap what you sow. People that are in your circle that have concerns that this is a fatal attraction should be listened to, okay? You should look into the reasons why she cannot own a gun. You should speak to your friend Roger Stone about her suicidal attempts and the things that she says and the things that she does and the accounts that she operates behind the scenes. You don't play with fire and expect not to be burned. Now, in regards to me, I can guarantee you, I am psychologically stronger than you. I've never had to be placed on a psychological involuntary hold. And I am not going to be intimidated by a Trump family thug who thinks that making up videos and using AI to put out rumors is going to scare me. My family, what frustrates people the most about me is we are remarkably boring. We have a very consistent family life. We really do most of our stuff with the church and with our church friends, and I advise people start living their lives that way so that they have more value, so they don't end up like Laura Loomer in a basement with no friends and family to take them to a basic appointment. So we will not be intimidated. And Trump, if this is the last card that you have, yeah, it's pretty pathetic.
Welcome in, Jazz. Sorry, I'm just munching on some toast right now. You know when you wake up in the morning and you go through your morning, you kind of get like a rumbly stomach, and then you like crave bread. I don't know. That's just how I am sometimes. So I'm munching on some burnt butter toast. It's pretty good.
That's all I'm going to say about that. We'll be right back after the break. All right, you guys, I'm going to tell you about Nimi Skincare because $1 a year. All right, you guys, top
All right, we're going to go over some Trump stuff. Oh, I wanted to go over the courtroom stuff with Tyler Robinson as well. I want to listen to Professor Jane.
There has been
Okay, let's go over some of the courtroom stuff with Tyler Robinson, and then we will listen to Professor Jane here.
In his apartment. His roommate finds it, roommate/lover finds it, and this initiates a text message conversation back and forth between the lover and the defendant, where the defendant says, yeah, I shot Charlie Kirk, and I'm summarizing, shot Charlie Kirk, I left the rifle behind, I had to leave the rifle behind, but I'm going to pick it up and then I'm coming home. Then he also confesses to a group of friends on a messaging.
Throw a Jersey tomato on it. Yeah, I'm not really a tomato fan, but I'll have to try it. I don't know. I love toast with butter. We have this kind of bread with raisins in it, cinnamon raisin bread. So good, so good. But I'm also cutting weight, so I'm trying not to eat much in the morning. I don't really eat breakfast unless I'm with my kids on the weekend and I cook something. Then I'll eat with them, but I really try not to. And then but yeah, I mean, I like this. What is it? 5-grain bread or something? It has like nuts in it and stuff. It's like, I don't know. It's good. Good shit.
Application.
We're only going to watch a little bit of this, then we're going to move on to something else.
He says, hey guys, it was me. I did it. Thanks for all the good times. Goodbye. And the final confession is an acquaintance is a former law enforcement officer, and he helps arrange the defendant turning himself in to the sheriff's office. And when he's talking to that former law enforcement officer, he says, I got rid of the clothing I wore. Right? So there are 3 categories of evidence that have nothing to do, that show probable cause, have nothing to do with the DNA evidence, which is what the defendant's issue is here. The 4th category of evidence is that DNA evidence. And you have to understand what that DNA evidence is. The towel that the rifle was found wrapped in was sent to the FBI lab for testing. There was also a screwdriver found on the sniper's purse.
I'll have to try that for sure.
It was also sent to the FBI lab for testing. The rifle itself was sent to a different lab, the ATF lab, for DNA testing. And both labs tested those materials completely independently of each other, different analysts, different labs, different locations. Both of them come back showing the defendant's DNA on those materials. Okay, the screwdriver, the towel, and the gun. I say they found the
Pretty good, Stacy, isn't it?
defendant's DNA on those materials. The experts and the reports that we'll present at the preliminary hearing were much more precise than that, right? Really what they say is there's astronomical odds that this DNA belongs to anyone but the defendant. But you'll see that, and I think you take my meaning here. The point is that there is
there he is.
Substantial evidence of probable cause, far exceeding what probable cause requires. And it comes from a variety of sources. And so the defendant cannot show that the material he wants to present at the
He's got a little book so he can write to his lawyer.
Preliminary hearing would defeat probable cause. And in his reply, he says, well, that's circular, because how could we make that showing if we don't have the underlying data to be able to attack the DNA evidence? Well, first of all, that attack wouldn't even affect those first three categories of evidence, right? The confession, the circumstantial evidence tying the defendant to the rifle, or the video evidence, right? But even if they were to find some expert that would say both labs independently got this wrong, and even if they're to find that kind of expert, which I think is speculation and probably against the grain, but regardless, you take that assumption, it still wouldn't defeat probable cause, because at this stage the court doesn't weigh contrary evidence, right? The standards are very clear. At this stage, because it's such an early stage with such a limited purpose, the court views all evidence in the light most favorable to the state, right? That's State v. Virgin. So, in summary, the defense has not shown that the motion to continue is based on the purpose of the hearing, a fair determination of probable cause. They just haven't shown it, and they haven't even tried. And I think one of the reasons they haven't tried is because they know that these are experienced practitioners. They know what the standard is here. It's low. The evidence is viewed in the light most favorable to the state. They're not going to be able to defeat a confession, multiple confessions nonetheless, or DNA evidence, right? And if the continuance was granted, it would affect what you need. And they say, well, we need the software files that can be used in the software program so our experts can run it. Okay, put that in writing so I understand and don't misrepresent what you want. And so when did they put it in writing? March 25th. So once I got it in writing, that's when we started looking through. I looked through my file and analyzed, do we have this stuff? Have we provided it? Help me understand what's going on. And after I did my analysis, I sent it off to the labs and said, hey, I've done my analysis of what I think we provided here. Will you guys look at this and see what you think you provided? And then tell me if if you haven't, get it to me.
Yeah, there's no way he did it himself. And like we heard in the audio, that girl thinks he was framed. And it's like, well, that's pretty damning, because it's like, well, framed by who, right?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Your Honor. Kathy Nestor on behalf of Mr. Robinson. I don't know if you recall, it's been a long time, but when we were first setting this prelim, I mentioned to the court that for the months of February and March, I would not be available. I was involved in a murder trial in Summit County. And so for the entire months of February and March, I was not able to work on this case. The trial ended, I think, March 17th or 18th. Then I got sick for like 10 days. So I have not been able to turn back to Mr. Robinson's case until the beginning of this month. In the time that I was in trial, we've had 7 disclosures from the state. Many of those disclosures involved thousands and thousands of pages. One of the biggest disclosures we got was on March 5th while I was in trial, and it consisted of the entire FBI file, which was massive. That's what I've been focusing on the last 2 weeks, reading it as fast as my eyes can read it, because a lot of the reports, I think, that are going to come out through the SBI originated through interviews with the FBI. So I've been trying to get my head around that file. And that's,
and that's what sucks too about court, is that your lawyer's working on other different cases, then they get sick. There's a bunch of different reasons why it has to move up or move forward, or this has to happen now, or this has to happen later. It's the crappy thing about going through court proceedings.
just one portion of one of the 7 disclosures, and there were thousands of pages. And I think I've made it through the FBI file now, but I haven't even touched any of the rest of it. And as lead counsel, I do expect to have at least a portion of the witnesses at the prelim. I share Ms. Visser's concern about, even though there's only 35 exhibits they're going to introduce, that doesn't limit the testimony that's coming in. And I feel like if I'm going to do a job, a good job, that I need to be able to be familiar with everything that officer has touched, and really what the SBI has done generally. We went to examine physical evidence this past week, this week. It took us 6 hours. We did finish what the SBI has. However, we still have never seen the gun. The gun is at Quantico. So we've never been able to look at the gun. I actually think that's really important for purposes of the hearing. So I have some concerns about that. I also have not been able to get into my client's phone. The electronics that we have required an expert to, because they're so massive, we had to all get these huge hard drives shipped to us from our digital expert. I have not looked at my client's phone, and that concerns me, especially because the state.
Hey guys, I hate to plug myself, but I have to. We have an hour and 46 minutes left on the super chat goal. 10 super chats, $1 and above. Help support your boy and support the channel by super chatting. YouTube does take a brutal 30%, so I say any super chats over $10, go to my bio, click the Ko-Fi link, and donate through there. Any donations will get your name written on the wall, and are much appreciated. It helps this channel continue to grow. Not only that, but helps me continue to do this with you guys Monday through Friday. God bless you guys.
States indicated they may call individuals uniquely connected to my client. I'm not going to say who because I don't want to commit you guys if you call them or not. But we've been given the names of some witnesses they may call, and what is on my client's phone I think is going to be really important. So I would share Ms. Visser's request for 4 months. I will tell you, I handle quite a few murder cases in the state. I think my last murder case that we had a prelim, we continued it I think 3 times, and there was 2 terabytes. This case has over 200 terabytes. So
Holy shit. 200 terabytes of evidence is wild. Holy crap. You know, and a lot of things do go different in courts. Like, you know, this stuff happens all the time. Like, oh, we didn't get the phone yet. We didn't get the gun. But with this specific particular case, it is kind of odd that, okay, yeah, the gun's still being evaluated. But what about, dude, it's been how many months? 8 months? Or however many motherfucking months, you know? Like, get it done, you know?
I think in the scheme of preliminary hearings and timing, this is not unusual or out of the ordinary for a homicide case in the state, especially one this complex. So personally asking for a little more time, setting the DNA completely aside. Even if the court, even if they get up and say, forget it, we're not going to introduce the DNA, even if you say I'm not going to listen to the DNA, the rest of it is still significant. I also have some concerns that they, you know, we do have a notice of intent.
She's a good lawyer. You can tell she's a good lawyer and she cares. Just by the way she talks to this judge, she's a great lawyer, you know?
To seek death with an aggravator. So I assume we're going to go forward with that. At the prelim, no one's discussed that. If that happens, that does require really careful review of the scene itself, which I don't know that we're there yet, but we're close. I mean, we definitely have looked at.
God, when they live stream these court proceedings, dude, we are definitely going to be watching it with each other. For sure, for sure, for sure. Straight up. Because I'm curious to see if they show any videos that obviously they're gonna, but I'm just curious to see them. I want to see different videos of what's going on, what happened, you know?
So many videos. I think I've memorized the face of everybody in the crowd. But if we're going to go forward and the court has to make a decision, if you're binding over on whether or not it's capital, whether or not there's an aggravator, that's a whole nother section we have to get into. So for all the same reasons, I would ask for 4 months at least. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Nestor. Kurt.
Yes. All right, we're not going to listen to the other people. We kind of heard what she had to say. That's what I wanted to do.
I've had 2 primary assignments in the.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what is done and what's said with everything. So I do want to go over the Iran situation with Trump, but I also want we were supposed to listen to Professor Jane yesterday, and this is
There has been so far a
related to the Iran situation, and I really like watching him because he gives a very good take on everything. He's very smart, and what he's been saying up to now has been very accurate. So, again, if you guys don't like him, you can click out, but I suggest anyone who's in here, watch this with me. Very interesting professor, very knowledgeable, very smart, puts things out very, very well. If you're new to the stream, make sure you double tap the screen, get those likes up, show some love and support, hit the subscribe button. We're almost to 11K. We're on the road to 100, so show some love, man. I do have a 10 super chat goal up of 10 super chats, $1 and above. 10 super chats, $1 and above. Help me reach my super chat goal by the end of the stream. If you have an opinion you want heard, send through your super chats. Any large donations, go to my Ko-Fi in the bio. YouTube does take a brutal 30%.
a 2-week ceasefire between Iran and the United States. The ceasefire is supposed.
There has been so far a 2-week ceasefire between Iran and the United States. The ceasefire is supposed to end tomorrow. And right now, the Americans have gone to Islamabad to negotiate a possible peace treaty. The Iranians may go, they may not go, we don't know yet. It is entirely possible that the Iranians will go to Islamabad, and it's entirely possible that they will negotiate a ceasefire, a peace treaty that ends the war. But unfortunately, this war will not end. So a lot of people believe that this war, it is just because Donald Trump has decided to go to war with Iran for whatever reason. But that's not true. This war in Iran is actually part of a larger strategic vision that the United States has to maintain its empire. Okay, and today I want to explain why that is the case and how this war will progress. But first, I want to look at some recent events from these past 2 weeks. One of the big news these past 2 weeks is that there are a lot of oil refineries that are afire. Okay, they've been alight. So even as the world is being cut off from 20% of energy from the Middle East, there are lots of oil refineries that are being destroyed. Okay, so this is from Russia, and this is actually Russia's largest oil refinery. As you can see, it is pretty extensive. Okay, but this is not Russia. It is actually a lot of places. So this is Myanmar, and these are 10 oil tankers.
You know, and also with this Iran situation, Iran is the proxy for Russia and China to give intelligence and to kind of, in the shadows, fight with Iran against America, right? That's why all the oil, they were getting a massive amount of money from oil tankers coming through the Strait of Hormuz. That's why the United States put a blockade out. We've captured a few ships from Iran. So it's pretty interesting to see how it goes, because it's, you know, with this war being the proxy for China and Russia and whoever else in the BRICS alliance to kind of coincide with Iran and fight with Iran. It's going to be very interesting to hear the peace talks and hear how we may come to a conclusion. Because at the end of the day, they could just say F it. And nope, we're going to work together and we're going to go against you and we're going to make you feel it. Right?
So there are a lot of oil refineries that are being destroyed right now. We don't know why this is happening, but there's a lot. Okay, there's already been over 50 oil refineries that have been on fire these past 45 days. Another thing that's been happening is that even though there's a ceasefire in effect, the Americans have imposed a blockade on Iran, and the Americans have escalated the situation by boarding and basically taking over an Iranian ship returning from China. Okay, so let's just look at some of the footage. So what happened was that the Iranian ship was returning from China, and the Americans suspected that the ship had important fuel and components for ballistic missiles. The Americans tried to board the ship would not stop, the Americans fired at the engine, and then they boarded the ship with special forces. Okay? And this is what would be considered an act of piracy. And before the Secretary of War, Peter Hegseth, he before complained that you have to let ships freely navigate in the seas. But he's also said that it's perfectly okay for the Americans to steal ships. Okay.
To be clear, threatening to shoot missiles and drones at ships, commercial ships that are lawfully transiting international waters, that is not control. That's piracy. That's terrorism. Certainly Venezuela.
Okay, so you understand. So the fact that Iran has closed off the Strait of Hormuz and threatened to attack ships with drones and ballistic missiles, that is wrong. That is piracy. Unless the Americans do this, okay? Unless the Americans do this.
Venezuela is taking notice of that, and it continues because two oil tankers, overnight, were seized by the United States of America, stateless or sanctioned, because the oil blockade, the quarantine of oil out of unsanctioned or stateless vessels continues. That leverage will continue, as Secretary Rubio outlined. So, as you've seen today.
Okay, so does that make sense? It is wrong for the world to be pirates and to seize ships, but it's okay for the United States to do this because the United States is the one that sets the rules for the world. Duh! Okay. So this war is not going well for the United States. This is Rick Scott, and he's a senator from Florida. And he explains that it doesn't really matter if the war is not going well for the United States because what's happening is that we're hurting China, and that's what's important.
How do you feel like the war in Iran, which is sort of in a ceasefire right now, how do you feel like this is going? Should the U.S. wrap this up, get out of there now, or do you think there's more to do there?
I appreciate that Trump's trying to get rid of nuclear weapons. I don't want to die by a nuclear weapon from Iran. They wanted to kill us. I mean, this appeasement of bullies. I don't know if in your life if that's worked for you guys. It's never worked for me. And so they wanted to kill us. So they're getting close to being in a position to kill us, and they basically have been killed.
Make sure you guys like the stream, man. Show some love and support. We're at 39 likes. We just need 11 more likes to be at 50. Let's try and hit 100. I know we can do it. Double tap your screens. Show some love and support. We're on the road to 20,000 subs. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're almost at 11K. Thank you for joining the family. Also, if you want to support the channel, become a member, tier 1 or tier 2. I do have a super chat goal up of 10 super chats, $1 and above. Get your name written down on the super chat wall along with supporting the channel. Join the See Me Now family. Love you guys.
And Americans. So I think what Trump did is the right thing. Now, I think he has to get them in a position that they don't have the ability to do nuclear weapons or ballistic missiles. I think that's where we have to go. I don't know what the right approach is going to be. I think blocking the Strait of Hormuz is fine from my standpoint. If no oil ever goes to China again and their economy is destroyed, that would be a really wonderful day for me.
Okay, do you guys understand? The Americans may lose this war, but if the end result is that China no longer gets any oil from the Middle East and the economy is destroyed, it's worth it. All right? Okay, even now, even at this late stage, we're about 50 days into this war, the Americans have yet to explain why this war started in the first place. So this is Karen Levitt, and she was asked by a reporter again why this war started. And this is her response.
Said yesterday for the first time that he had to strike Iran because he believes that Iran was going to strike U.S. targets within 7 days. And then he bumped that down later to 3 days. Where is he getting that?
Well, that's not the first time the president has said that he chose to launch Operation Epic Fury because he felt as though Iran was going to strike the United States and our assets in the region first. Again, I addressed this in the last briefing. This was a feeling the president had based on facts provided to him.
So it was a feeling based on facts, okay? That's why Trump started this war. Trump himself has given conflicting signals. He said that this war is going to end soon. He's also said that this war is going to continue. All right, so he changes every day.
Yeah, and this is my gripe with Trump is that it does change every day. It's, oh, we came to an agreement. Iran comes out, says we didn't. Oh, we're going to have a ceasefire by this time. Israel messes it up. Trump is back and forth on the seesaw saying this and that. And I said it yesterday and I'll say it today. It's just ruining his image. It's just, he's not the Trump we had the first term.
Minutes ago, but it seems to be going very well in the Middle East with Iran. We'll know over a little bit of time. We're negotiating over the weekend. And as you know, we have the blockade. The blockade's been very successful. And of equal success has been the 5 weeks before the blockade. The combination was pretty lethal, I would say. So we're going to be knowing very shortly.
So he's saying this war is going great. We should have a ceasefire soon, okay? And then maybe an hour later, he's like, oh, I think I need to drop bombs on Iran. So there's a lot of conflicting signals coming from Trump. And what I want to show you today, what I want to argue to you today is that you have to ignore these signals and focus on the larger American strategy in this war. And once you understand the strategy, then it's very easy for us to understand how this war will progress over the next few years, okay? Because this war is not going to end soon. It won't be a few months, it'll probably be a few years. And quite honestly, it may take 10 or 20 years, okay? So let's look over some more news. So as I mentioned previously, oil refineries are getting sabotaged, either by accident or purposefully. What this tells us is that in the past 45 days, there have been at least 45 recorded incidents around the world of oil refineries being set on fire. Okay, so Iran was bombed by the Israelis, and then the Israelis responded by attacking Qatar. Russia's being attacked by Ukraine. And the big one is that in Australia, in Geelong, one of the refineries was set on fire. And they claim it was an accident. This is important because Australia is not at war. But Australia needs a lot of oil. Okay, so right now Australia is in a lot of trouble. Romania, Bucharest has been hit. India has been hit. Myanmar has been hit. Okay, so all around the world, there are these fires going on, destroying the world's oil supply. So why is this happening? And who's doing this? We don't know. And quite honestly, we may never know. But to figure out the answer, you always ask yourself, who benefits, right? And you always look at three things: means, motive, and opportunity. And so from this, you could figure out that the majority of these fires are being deliberately set in order to reduce the world's oil supply. And the people who can do this, the people who benefit from doing this, are the Russians or the Americans, okay? One of these two. It's probably both, but we don't know for sure.
One thing I don't get is, why don't we drill in America? We have so much resources and so much ways to get our own energy. We don't use it. And at a time like this, don't you think it'd be important to maybe start to use some of our own resources that we never tap into?
Yet. All right. This war, as we discussed previously, is already having a tremendous impact on the world's economy. So sulfur has risen in price by 57%. Sulfur is important for the manufacture of both fertilizers as well as for microchips. Okay? Jet fuel has gone by 52%. So next time you're flying the United States, it's going to be a much more expensive ticket. Urea is important for fertilizer. Diesel, gasoline, fertilizer. So basically, food and energy, their prices have gone way up. Okay? Donald Trump makes a statement saying that the Iranian flag cargo ship Tosca has been boarded by the Americans. Okay? And Donald Trump continues to threaten the Iranians and say that if you continue to close off the Strait of Hormuz, then we will negotiate with bombs, basically. All right? No more Mr. Nice Guy. And quite honestly, what he's also saying is, we don't really care because we don't need that oil from the Middle East. Also, we can sell our oil to the world, okay? The United States loses nothing. In fact, many ships are headed right now to the US, Texas, Louisiana, Alaska to load up compliments of the IRGC. We just want to be the tough guy. All right, so we're the ones benefiting from this war. So we have nothing to worry about. All right. So another thing that I want you guys to pay attention to is how America is moving towards a war economy. All right, so the Pentagon has been in talks with General Motors and Ford to make munitions, drones, and military equipment. Right, so this last happened in World War II when America moved to total war. There are factories that used to make cars were now making tanks. But not only that, but Trump also announced something called the Defense Production Act as of today. And what this does is it basically allows the government to subsidize private corporations in the manufacture of weapons. Okay? So these companies, General Motors, Ford, they can make a lot of money because of this war. That's something to keep in mind. Starting December, America.
Hey, Two Pistols, I appreciate you, brother, for the $5 dono. God bless you. 9 more donations will reach our super chat goal of any color, $1 and above, 10 super chats, $1 and above. Thank you for the first dono of the day. Two Pistols, I appreciate you, brother. God bless you. Thanks for supporting the channel. I'm going to get your name written down on the wall right now. 9 more supers to get to the goal. I appreciate you guys, man. God bless. Thank you again, brother.
Americans who are age 18 to 26 will be automatically registered for the draft. Okay, so it's very likely that America will soon introduce a national draft and force young men to go fight in the Middle East. Currently, the Pentagon budget is $1 trillion. Next year, it'll be $1.5 trillion, an increase by of 50%. Okay? And we can expect that the year after, it might be $2 trillion. More veterans are now being asked to serve longer. Okay? So what we're seeing is that the United States is moving towards a wartime economy. Okay? They're preparing for what we call total war. When an economy...
I'm running out of room on my walls, man. I'm going to have to start going to different walls. I appreciate you, brother, for the dono. God bless, bro. Your name's on the wall. I don't know what I'm going to do about these donations. Soon I'm going to fill this whole room up. I should figure out a different way to make all the names visible but have more room.
Moves towards the manufacture of weapons and munitions. All right, another thing that's been happening that you should pay attention to is the fact that there's very little opposition. In fact, there's no opposition to Donald Trump fighting this war in Iran. You would think that the Democrats, his opponents, would use this opportunity to promote anti-war messages or try to stop him from plunging America into another forever war in the Middle East. Instead, the Democrats are doing as much as possible not to do anything. So recently in Congress, they had a vote as to...
Yeah, instead, they're focused on the Stop Nick Shirley Act or whatever the fuck it is.
Whether or not to restrict Trump's ability to fight this war, okay? And there were 4 Republicans who did not vote, and 1 Republican who voted, we should restrict Trump, okay? And so this vote should have been 214 to 213.
Get a scrolling chart that displays names. I should do that. Write smaller, maybe. Yeah, I did make that mistake of writing a bit too big. I just think that like all the names around the banner looks dope, you know? A little tablet beside yourself. Maybe I wonder if I can't get like a display that's on the screen that like just has donors' names on it, just continuously cycling. That would be cool. Thank you for the super sticker, Stacy. I appreciate you. I'm gonna write your name down now too. Much love to you. I really appreciate it. Your guys' support on the channel helps me do this Monday through Friday, man, full time. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into something, or even maybe like a little TV screen. Like have a little TV screen somewhere on the side with donor names continuously scrolling or cycling, something like that. Maybe I should do that. We'll figure it out. We'll get it done. So you guys, because I want you guys to have your names consistently being shown on the screen for supporting the channel. You guys deserve that. So thank you again, Stacy. I'm gonna get your name written down. I'm gonna have to do it over here though.
13 in favor, yes, we will restrict Trump's war powers. But then what happened was that one Democrat, just one Democrat, decides, I'm going to switch my vote to no. So now becomes 214 to 213. Okay, do you understand? Guys, this is all political theater. You understand? It's all theater, meaning that it was already prearranged between the Republicans and Democrats that this resolution would fail. In other words, if maybe 2 Republicans voted yes, then 2 Democrats would have voted no. If 10 Republicans voted yes, then 10 Democrats would have voted no. You understand? The Democrats are not opposing this war. They're doing as much as possible to support this war. So the question then is, why is this happening? Why is America moving towards a wartime economy? Why are the Democrats so supportive of this war? And the answer has to do with empire, okay? So this is something called the National Defense Strategy that came out in January 2026. And this is the blueprint for how the Pentagon will fight wars for the next 5 to 10 years. This is a strategy behind the Iran war. All right, and so what we're going to do is we're going to read certain parts together to analyze how the Americans will strategize about the world moving forward. Okay, so Ivory, could you help me read, please? Thank you.
For too long, the U.S. government neglected, even rejected, putting Americans and their concrete interests first. Previous administrations squandered our military advantages and the lives, goodwill, and resources of our people in grandiose nation-building projects and self-congratulatory pledges to uphold cloud castle abstractions like the rule-based international order. These past leaders neglected and often actively undermined our warfighters' warrior ethos and our military's core, irreplaceable role, fighting, winning, and thereby deterring the wars that really matter to our people. Consequently, President Trump entered office with the nation on the precipice of disastrous wars for which we were unprepared.
Okay, so certain things to keep in mind, okay? Concrete interests first means that we have to think about resources. We have to think about concrete advantages to America. We can no longer think about ideals, okay? Second is the idea of rules-based national order, or the globalists. Before America was fighting wars for their nations, or for Europe, or for Japan, we have to fight wars for America, okay? And the last thing is the idea of undermine our warriors' ethos, okay? Undermine our warrior ethos. What this means is that before, America was bounded by too many rules, okay? What we call rules of engagement, okay? Or basically, avoiding war crimes. You were not allowed to kill civilians. You needed permission from the United Nations to fight wars. And what this is saying is like, screw that, okay? Screw rules of engagement. We should just fight wars to win wars. That means we kill as many people as we need. That means we do whatever is necessary in order to win wars, okay? So this is what the first paragraph is saying here. It's a new vision of American power. Before, it was about ideals. Now it's about interests. Before, it was about globalism. Now it's about America first. Before, it was about rules of engagement. Now it's about the warrior ethos, okay? Please continue reading, Ivory.
President Trump has decisively changed that, courageously putting Americans first to truly make America great once again. Under his leadership, the United States has the world's strongest, most lethal, and most capable military. Indeed, the most powerful military that this world has ever seen. No longer will the department be distracted by interventionism, endless wars, regime changes, and nation building. Instead, we will put our people's practical, concrete interests first. We will support a policy of actual peace through strength. We will be the sword and shield to deter war with the goal of peace, but ready to fight and win the nation's necessary wars if called upon. This is
stop, okay, wait. So the important sentence here is, we will support a policy of actual peace through strength. What this means is that we will be so mighty, we will be so invincible, we will be so fearless that we will instill fear.
I'm sorry, Two Pistols. Hey, you gotta cut me some slack, because the name Two Pistols does sound like it would be a boy's name. I'm sorry. Oh, now I can see Jessica. I wish it said Jessica. I see your profile now. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Sorry again. My bad. I'm so sorry. So sorry. She says, I'm a girl though, but it's okay, no problem. I love when I'm able to catch your streams. I know you'll be at 20,000 soon. Keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate you. Much love, Jessica. Yeah, we're going up. I did take a week off because my daughter was sick, and then we got sick, everything. But I'm back. I'm back like crack. Heart is a heart attack. We're going to run it up, and we're going to continue to learn together and grow together. I appreciate the love. I'm glad you're part of the family. Thank you so much. I'm glad you corrected me.
In others.
Now I know it's instead of Two Pistols, I'm going to say Jessica.
They'll be so afraid to fight us, and therefore we'll have peace, okay? So it's the idea of hegemony. Peace through might. Peace through power. We have to demonstrate we are invincible. When people fear us, that's when people will obey us. When people obey us, that's when we'll have peace, okay?
This does not mean isolationism. To the contrary, it means a focused and genuinely strategic approach to the threats our nation faces and how to best manage them. This approach is based on a flexible, practical realism that looks at the world in a clear-eyed way, which is essential for serving Americans' interests. As the national security strategy articulates, this is the common-sense approach President Trump has advanced.
Okay, all right. So this does not mean isolationism. It's about how to best manage them. So the idea here is that America before was engaging too many wars overseas. It was too spread out. America will now be focused on maintaining and protecting its core strategic interests. That means divide and conquer, okay? Divide and conquer, divide and rule. Okay, I'll explain this as we go on. All right, so these are the four strategic interests of the United States, okay? Can you read, Ivory?
We will defend the homeland and ensure that our interests in the Western Hemisphere are protected. We will deter China in the Indo-Pacific through strength, not confrontation. We will increase burden sharing with allies and partners around the world. And we will rebuild the U.S. defense industrial base as part of the President's once-in-a-century revival of American industry.
Okay, so this is it, okay? This is a plan moving forward. And already we're seeing the Americans are doing this. All right, so rebuild the U.S. defense industrial base, okay, basically means factories and resources, all right? Making sure that America becomes the arsenal of democracy. Its factories produce all the weapons America needs in order to protect its interests as well as protect its allies. We will increase burden sharing with allies and partners around the world, okay? This basically means that from now on, we're not friends. From now on, we're the boss and you do what we tell you to do, okay? From now on, we'll order Japan, South Korea, Europe, NATO to do what they must in order to protect our power, and they must follow us. Basically, create a system of vassalage. That's number 2. Number 3 is we will deter China in the Indo-Pacific through strength, not confrontation. We don't want to destroy China. We don't want to hurt China, but we need China to obey us. And the way to do that is by containing China, strangling China economically, and also promoting Japan, okay? So in the future, China and Japan will balance each other out. And that allows us to rule over them, right? In the future, we, America, will sell resources, weapons, and financing to both China and Japan as they compete against each other in East Asia. That's how we will contain China. And then the idea of we'll defend the homeland and ensure that our interests in the Western Hemisphere are protected, okay? So basically, this means that the Western Hemisphere belongs to America. We'll do whatever we want in the Western Hemisphere. If you want to come to the Western Hemisphere, you need our permission. If you, China or Russia, you want to come into the Western Hemisphere, you have to get our permission. You have to pay a tax to us, okay? This is really important, defend the homeland. Defend the homeland just basically means a police state. Before, America was too free, and therefore, America was too weak. The example is the Vietnam War. When the war was not lost in Vietnam, the war was lost at home. Because you had too many people, too many young men protesting on the streets, too many rebels. If we want to win wars, if we want to project strength, if we want to create peace in the world, we need to make sure that our home front is secure. All right? And that means making sure that Americans follow the law, do what they're told. Okay? So I'll explain this more as we go along. All right, so now let's move on to China, okay? So can you read, Ivory?
Deter China in the Indo-Pacific through strength, not confrontation. President Trump seeks a stable peace, fair trade, and respectable relations with China, and he has shown that he is willing to engage President Xi Jinping directly to achieve those goals. But President Trump has also shown how important it is to negotiate from a position of strength, and he has tasked DOW accordingly. Consistent with the president's approach, DOW will therefore seek and open a wider range of military-to-military communications with the People's Liberation Army, with a focus on supporting strategic stability with Beijing, as well as deconfliction and de-escalation more generally. But we will also be clear-eyed and realistic about the speed, scale, and quality of China's historic military buildup. Our goal in doing so is not to dominate China, nor is it to strangle or humiliate them. Rather, our goal is simple: to prevent anyone, including China, from being able to dominate us or our allies. In essence, to set the military condition required to achieve the NSS goal of a balance of power in the Indo-Pacific that allows all of us to enjoy a decent peace. To that end, as the NSS directs, we will erect a strong denial defense along the first island chain. We will also urge and enable key regional allies and partners to do more for our collective defense. In doing so, we will reinforce deterrence by denial so that all nations recognize their interests are best served through peace and restraint.
Okay, so again, this is a very clear plan, okay? What this is saying is this: we're going to negotiate with China, we're going to be friends, we have to do so from a position of strength. And so what does that mean? First of it means that we will embargo China, okay? How can we embargo China? Through the first island chain, right? The first island chain is Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines, right? So if you embargo China, it means China cannot access the Strait of Malacca, which provides China with 80% of its energy needs, right? And so if you embargo China, China has no choice but to obey you. You're negotiating from a position of strength. The other thing is that we're going to enable key regional allies, and this of course would be Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Malaysia.
Dude, I'm sorry, but this guy's handwriting is so trash. Every single time I look at his handwriting and the way he writes, he don't even write out full words.
Singapore.
I would hate to be a student trying to take notes.
Indonesia, right? And this creates the Strait of Malacca. We will have these nations challenge Chinese supremacy in order to create balance, a power balance in East Asia. And once this power balance is created, they all depend on us, the United States, because we have energy, we have food, we have weapons, we have financing. Okay? So again, if you just read this, it's very, very clear what the United States wants to do, and they're already doing it. All right, so this is the conclusion, okay? Ivory, can you read, please?
Taking our nation from the precipice of a world war just a year ago, President Trump is now leading our nation into a new golden age, one defined by putting Americans first in a common sense, pragmatic, and concrete way. No longer will we squander Americans' will, resources, and even lives in foolish and grandiose adventures abroad. But we will not retreat. Rather, we will unabashedly prioritize Americans' concrete interests with an approach of flexible realism. We will restore the warrior ethos. We will refocus the American military on its core, irreplaceable goal of winning the nation's wars decisively. In doing so, as President Trump has so memorably emphasized, our purpose will not be aggression or perpetual war. Rather, our goal is peace. Peace is the highest good, but not a peace that sacrifices our people's security, freedoms, and prosperity. Rather, a peace that Americans deserve, a noble and proud peace. Fortunately, this peace is compatible with the interests of our potential opponents if they keep their demands reasonable and cabined. We do not demand their humiliation or submission. Rather, we demand only that they respect our reasonably conceived interests and those of our allies and partners who stand stoutly with us. If we all can acknowledge this, we can achieve a flexible and sustainable balance of power among us and peace. but we at the Department of War will be ready if our gracious offer is spurned. We know that wishing for a decent peace is not the same thing as bringing it about. Thus, if our potential opponents are unwise enough to reject our peaceful overtures and choose conflict instead, America's armed force will stand ready to fight and win the nation's wars in ways that make sense for Americans. To ensure that this is the case, the strategy will ensure that we see things and the choices we need to make clearly. We will prioritize addressing the most consequential and grave threats to Americans' interests. We will revamp our network of allies and partners to meet the threats we face. And we will be ready, always carrying the sharpest and most formidable sword, but prepared to offer the olive branch.
Okay, so this is very clear, okay? What he's saying is this: obey us and there will be peace. Defy us and there will be war. Okay, the key idea is we will prioritize addressing the most consequential and grave threats to Americans' interests. Okay, sorry, can you give that? Okay, so I want to show you what this
We're going to watch a little bit more of this, then I am going to go over another subject and I'm going to get off.
means. Basically, it means that from now on, America will adopt a new strategy, okay? All right, so if this ceasefire does not work and war continues, then we can expect in round 2, the fighting will get much worse. Okay, so the Americans will start to target civilian infrastructure, including bridges, universities, reservoirs, power plants, desalination plants. Basically, it will destroy Iran's capacity to be a nation state. In response, the Iranians can destroy a lot more energy infrastructure, okay? So what it's done now, it's basically close off the Strait of Hormuz, but it can also close off the Red Sea, okay? And it can also target pipelines of natural gas. Basically, it can take offline 1/3 of the world's energy supply, and this would, of course, cause an economic depression, okay? Unfortunately, the national security strategy of the United States doesn't really care. If you just read the national security strategy, they already have factored this in and they don't really care. So the idea is to prioritize strategic interests. And what this basically means is that America has the world's greatest navy. No one else comes close. And so all that they do is contain the world's choke points. And the world must bend to the will of America. Okay, does that make sense? If you want to trade, then you must depend on American generosity. Okay, so already what's happening is that this area, it's being closed off. But America has made moves to close off other areas as well. So America is exerting more control over the Panama Canal, okay? Basically, the Western Hemisphere is under something called the Donroe Doctrine. The Donroe Doctrine basically states that America can do whatever it wants in the Western Hemisphere. If you want to come here and trade, you have to go through us. China depends on a lot of resources from the Western Hemisphere, especially from South America. All right, over here, something called the Lithium Triangle. This is Venezuela. Brazil provides China with a lot of agricultural products, soybeans, basically. And what Trump is saying is that, hey, in the future, you want to trade over here, China, you have to go through us, okay? So he's basically embargoing the Western Hemisphere from China. Over here is something called the Strait of Malacca. This is the most important choke point in the world, especially for East Asia, because as you can see, the Middle East, if it is to access South Korea, China, and Japan, it has to go through the Strait of Malacca. But guess what, guys? Everything goes through the Strait of Malacca. And this is important because the United States has signed a deal with Indonesia. So what we can expect is that America and Indonesia, their militaries will start to cooperate more and more. This is and the reason why is America is moving towards creating the first island chain. Basically, militarizing the first island chain in order to deter China, to embargo China, basically. What we're also seeing is that Japan is now rapidly remilitarizing. They're signing more agreements with Australia and other nations, okay? They're building more weapons. This is all being encouraged by the United States as a deterrent to China. Again, this is really important. America does not want to destroy China. It does not want to humiliate China. It wants to control China. Because the Chinese economy is still very strong and powerful, and America wants to make sure that the Chinese are buying more US dollars. Okay? So it is entirely possible what's going to happen is that the Chinese will have no choice but to buy from America, okay? Especially energy. The entire Western Hemisphere belongs to America, and you want to trade with the Western Hemisphere, then you need to sign a trade deal with America. Okay? What America is also doing that's really important is that it's planning to take over Greenland. Okay? By taking over Greenland, you're blocking access. China and Russia cannot access the Western Hemisphere, okay, through the Arctic. You're also seizing control over the Arctic, okay? And there are lots of minerals and oil in the Arctic as well. Okay? The Strait of Gibraltar is also another strategic choke point, and America has signed a deal with Morocco to enhance more cooperation. Okay? So I can see what America is doing is, when they mean strategic interest, prioritizing strategic interest, what they mean is exerting control over the world's choke points so that they can control global trade. Okay? They're not going to control the entire ocean because it's much too big, but if they control certain choke points, like the Middle East, and the Strait of Malacca, that's probably enough. Okay? The point is to get China to submit. The point is to control China, not to destroy China. All right, this is important because if you want to become a major power in the world, you need to trade effectively. So Russia has something called the North-South corridor. As you can see, it runs through Iran, okay? Iran is very important for the Russian North-South corridor. And that's why the United States is attacking Iran. Okay? And that's why the United States is not going to ever stop attacking Iran. Because as long as Iran is at peace, Russia can trade with the world. But if Iran is being destroyed, there's too much war, this entire region is blocked off from both Russia and China. Okay? Russia has something called the Belt and Road Initiative. As you can see, okay, from a map, the center of the Belt and Road Initiative is, of course, Iran. All right? If China wants to access Africa, Europe, the Middle East, it has to go through Iran. Or it goes through the sea, the Strait of Malacca. But as I already said, the next step for America is to close off the Strait of Malacca as well to Chinese trade. Then where do you go? Well, then you go over to the Western Hemisphere, but that's American territory. Okay? Yes, you can trade with Russia. You can trade with Russia. You can do that. But it's not enough for your economy. Does that make sense? Right now, China gets about 20% of its oil from Russia. Maybe Russia can provide 30% or 40% at most. That's very optimistic. But where are you going to get the other 50%, 60%, okay? Your options are very limited. If Iran is at war, can't give you any oil, then you're forced to buy from the United States. Okay? If you're forced to buy from the United States can set the price. It can set terms. It can dictate terms to you. And what the United States will say, you have to buy in US dollars. Okay? And that saves their economy. Right? Does it make sense, guys? This is not a hard idea to understand. This is exactly what it says in the US national security strategy. Okay? So, in many ways, you can make the argument that what's happening around the world right now, it's all an American policy of containing China, where in these flags are US military bases. As you can see, China is completely surrounded by US military bases in Japan, in South Korea, in Taiwan, even in Indonesia and Malaysia. Philippines, China's completely surrounded, okay? And this is it, the Strait of Malacca. This is a major choke point. And as you can see, it's not that hard for America to cut off that choke point, right? You see how much trade goes through the Strait of Malacca? You can see how many US bases are here. And you can see a lot of this trade goes to the Middle East, but hey, guess what? The Middle East is at war right now, so no more oil, no more energy, no more LNG from the Middle East. So you might go to Angola, but this is very important. The Americans have recently announced a naval blockade in the Indian Ocean, okay? So that's kind of
like what kind of fucking writing is this, bro? I'm sorry. I love this guy. He's smart, good at talking. What is this handwriting, bro?
Your route as well. So if you're China, yes, you could rely on Russia, but you see how little this is. Okay? There's too little trade between Russia and China. And you can build it up, but it's going to take you 10, 20 years' time. And what do you do for the next 10 years?
I'll let this play. I'll be right back.
Right? Your people need food to eat. You need energy to fuel your factories. And so for the next 10 years, you have no choice but to work with the United States. And that's what Trump means by negotiating from a position of strength. Because you can set terms. You can force China to accept whatever terms you want. And quite honestly, if you just look at this map, there's very little that China can do about it. Okay? There's this war in the Middle East. There's also this war in Russia, which also absorbs a lot of Russian energy. So Russia doesn't have that much resources to spare to China anyway. But America does. The Western Hemisphere does. Okay? Because the Western Hemisphere is at peace. So as long as the Western Hemisphere maintains a fortress, okay? Meaning no one can attack the Western Hemisphere, then the Western Hemisphere can continue to supply resources to the world at war. So this is what the war is about, guys. Okay? It's about creating conflict in the world so the United States can maintain its empire. And the way it maintains its empire is by maintaining its control over global trade. Okay? And the idea is America in the future will provide the world with energy, resources, weapons, and financing. Meaning we will actually lend you the money to buy this stuff as well. And what do we call this stuff? US dollars, okay? And so this worked really well in the 1950s under something called the Marshall Plan. Okay? The Marshall Plan. Same idea where America made products and it lent money to Europe to buy products from America. Same concept here where in the future, the world is at war, people are poor, but it's okay because America will lend you money to buy energy, resources, and weapons from America. Okay? And American factories will go up. America will be great again. Make America great again. All right? Okay. But for this plan to fully work out, America needs 3 things, okay? The first thing that it needs to do is create a national draft. Does that make sense, guys? Because you need soldiers in order to maintain America's core interests, right? So whichever nation is defying you, you go attack. Right? The goal is for Russia and Europe to constantly fight each other. The goal is for China and Japan to constantly fight each other. You need Iran to constantly fight with the GCC and Israel, okay? So you have these 3 major conflicts around the world. But if there's any nation that's at peace, well, then you have to create conflicts, okay? Maybe in Africa. You also want to control the Western Hemisphere, so you need soldiers to go and conquer nations that defy you. Okay, so the first thing that you need is a national draft. All right. The second thing that you need is something called continuity of agenda. What does this mean? It means like now that you have this plan in motion, you cannot have a change in government. Okay. So let's just say they're.
You know, and this is what I was saying too before when people were saying, well, how is getting Venezuela American first? Because if you think about it, this is probably the most American first policy ever. You know, people were calling me an idiot, but now they're probably reaping they're probably regretting their words. Because people are saying, well, how is getting Venezuela a American first, situation or America first move? Well, I said it months ago, I said, every country has the desire to conquer. It's either China conquers us and the land we need and gets advantages over us, same with Russia, or we conquer the land we need to conquer and we get the advantages we need from such land, military bases, what have you. This is exactly what I was saying months ago. That it's all about, conquering and controlling, the world, which is smart. We control the whole Western Hemisphere. It's very, very powerful, what we've done, but it does come with a cost. But yeah, I mean, I've been saying this for forever that, it's either they do it to us or we do it to them. And sorry, but I'm American. I'd rather do it to them.
In this plan, and they're doing that right now, in 2028, the Democrats win. Well, that would screw things up, okay? So Trump needs a 3rd term, right? A Trump 3rd term. Because only he can implement this plan and make America great again. Okay? And the 3rd thing that you need is an AI surveillance state. Basically, AI police state. Why? Because again, this plan can only work if the Americans don't rise up and revolt like they did in the Vietnam War. Okay? If you have a national draft in place, if Trump's going for a 3rd term, there's going to be a lot of Americans who are going to protest in the streets, who are going to rebel, right? You can't have that happen. They'll screw things up. Therefore, you need an AI surveillance state in order to help them see the light, right? So, ICE, guys, okay? ICE. People believe that ICE is being sent to the streets of America in order to catch illegal immigrants. The problem with this is that you don't need ICE. You just need cooperation from the state authorities, okay? What ICE is really doing is basically creating conditions for a police state. It's normalizing or making common the idea of armed soldiers patrolling the streets of America in all the major cities, all right? And the reason why we think this, or we can suspect this, is look at their budget, man. Look at this budget. Before, the budget was kind of stable. Then, boom, it goes up to $90 billion. That's a lot of money, okay? That's almost like a new national police force that is only obedient to Donald Trump. It's basically Donald Trump's private police force in order to implement his vision, okay? Also, data centers, guys. Data centers. Now, I know that some of you are big fans of artificial intelligence, but artificial intelligence doesn't really make any money, right? ChatGPT, you can't make money off that. You can't make money off digital girlfriends or digital pets, right? So why is America building all these data centers?
Kind of wrong, because you know, people pay for subscriptions, people pay for, you know, a bunch of different things that are, you know, extras, we'll say,
around the world. In fact, the federal government under Trump has a plan called Operation Stargate, where they will build $500 billion, okay? They will invest $500 billion in building data centers around the United States. Well, you would want to build data centers if you want to create a AI surveillance state, right? Where everyone has digital ID, digital currency, and where everyone can be monitored to avoid people from rebelling against Trump. Okay? And that is the idea. Okay? And you listen to this and you think, oh my God, America is doomed. Or Donald Trump's going to become king for the rest of his life. There's nothing we can do.
Dude, Trump is old as shit, bro. It wouldn't be that long he's king.
Well, the problem is this. The problem is that this idea of imperial conquest is actually not a new idea, guys, okay? It really isn't. Empires have been doing this for a long, long time. It has not worked out well, okay? So the goal, again, to summarize, is to create a situation where you have greater North America, or what they call the Tecnate, okay? And this becomes a fortress. You have infinite resources, infinite manpower, and you can sell weapons, resources, and financing to the rest of the world. And you want to create as much conflict in the world as possible, right? So here it'll be between China and Japan. Here it'll be between Iran, Israel, and the GCC, okay? Here it'll be between Europe and Russia. Basically, you want a world forever at war so that you can control the world. And all America has to do is control key choke points, okay? Key strategic choke points, like the Strait of Malacca, Hormuz, Gibraltar, Panama. Why? Because once you control the choke points, you can control which nations get what resources. If a nation is becoming too strong, you give them less resources. If a nation is too weak, you give them more resources. And as a result, you can always maintain the balance of power in each region, right? So it sounds like a great plan, but it's not going to work out. Why? Well, because of something called nationalism. Okay? Because when you do this, when you are an empire and you impose your will on other nations, these nations are not happy about it. Right? So imagine Japan, South Korea, Europe. There people know that they're being used, right? So eventually they'll be like, screw this. We want to be independent. We want peace. So they will eventually rise up against the empire. And the way they will do this is they will work together to destroy America, or basically to remove America from the world. You can't actually attack America. Now, what America can do is say, screw you, we're the entire Western Hemisphere, we have infinite resources, we can make infinite weapons, and you can never attack us, so we'll come and attack you. Okay? They can do that. The problem then is you have division and corruption. Okay? So an empire in decline always suffers from corruption and division. Corruption just means that, yes, you've allocated $1.5 trillion to making weapons, but guess what? The vast majority of that will be stolen by people. Right? America right now is in a lot of trouble because it's a very corrupt place. Division means that the Democrats and Republicans fight all the time, what we call political polarization. So it is possible that as America is being asked to fight more wars overseas, you have civil war in America. The other thing is, when America takes over the entire North America, including Canada, Greenland, Mexico, Cuba, Colombia, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Honduras, they won't be happy about it, okay? So you're gonna have insurgencies. All right? And this three problems, nationalism, corruption, and division, means that when America actually tries to implement this plan, it's gonna backfire. It's gonna accelerate the collapse of the American empire. All right? And then you ask yourself, okay.
Who else thinks that is scary as shit? It's freaky to think about. And and I've always said this. Yes, it's in our it's in our DNA. It's there's always going to be anarchy. There's always going to be people who want to control everything, but there's so much more to gain from realizing we're all in this humanity thing together, and we could benefit so much more from just working with each other rather than doing all this, which this has been happening since the beginning of time, but it is what it is. We're stupid humans. But I don't know. I just yeah.
If historically we know that empires will collapse, why do they do this? And the answer is because it benefits them in the short term. Okay? This is a short-term solution that creates long-term problems, but who cares about the long term? Let's just enjoy the short term, okay? All right? Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, Brad, but what he's saying is whoever wields the power when we do this, it's going to backfire because we're going to have insurgencies and people are not going to fuck with it, and I don't know. It is what it is, bro. You're going to have to rewind it. Welcome in, Wisconsin. Much love, brother.
But for the war between Iran and America, you previously said that America will lose the war, but according to the analysis that you just did, like America will try to control nations around China and those nations, but it will finally backfire. So the result of that predictions will still be America will lose, right?
Yeah, so again, the major prediction is that America may in the short term seem as though it is winning, but in the long term, because of corruption, division, and nationalism, America will be forced to retreat back to the Western Hemisphere, and it will lose its empire. All right? And yes, America will lose the war in Iran. Okay, be forced to retreat from Iran, but it doesn't really have to win the war. It doesn't have to defeat Iran. It just has to make Iran constantly in a state of chaos and war. Okay, does that make sense? Because the point is to control the choke points. Okay, the key are the choke points. These are the keys. This is what America must protect. And what happens in Europe, Russia, China, Japan, Iran doesn't really matter. But what America wants to do is create as much chaos as possible in these places so that they depend on America for resources, for financing, for weapons. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, America doesn't really care anymore if it loses its war in Iran. That's not the point. The point is to maintain control over these strategic choke points, so the world depends on American resources to survive. Okay? Yeah?
Does China or any other countries discerns that America is trying to control the trade route of China?
Oh, look. Okay. What America is doing is obvious, all right? It's silly. It's really obvious to people, right? There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it because America has a blue water navy that controls the oceans. So the question then is, what happens in the long term? Well, in the long term, what's going to happen is that Russia will challenge America in these choke points, okay? And this is already happening in Cuba, okay? Cuba is here. And we'll discuss this next class, but Cuba is under embargo right now, and Cuba is trying to become closer with Russia, okay? So
agreed, Wisconsin.
What Russia's going to do is set up basically its own navy to challenge the American navy. And Russia cannot win against the American navy, but what it can do is fight a war of attrition against the American navy, raising costs. Okay? That's number one. Number two is that if America can go and blow up energy supplies around the world to make the world more dependent on America, well, Russia can also blow up energy supplies to make the world dependent on Russia. Okay? So what's going to happen is that Russia and America are going to compete against each other. All right? And most of the world is ultimately going to side with Russia in order to balance the United States, because the United States is too much of a bully. And at this point, in the short term, China has no choice but to work with both Russia and America, because China's not strong enough to challenge either. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah, Alan?
So my question is about how Trump gonna like deal with the internal conflict in American. Like there's right now he only had like 37% of supporting rate, and Democrats seems didn't agree with his plan. So how he gonna do about this? And what is if Democrat Party didn't agree with Trump's plan? What is the plan of Democrat to American?
Okay. Yeah. So first of all, the Democrats have no plan. Okay, this is why America is in so much trouble, because the Democrats have absolutely no plan of themselves, okay? So even if the Democrats were to win office in 2028, what they'll probably do is continue Trump's plan, because they themselves don't have any plan. Trump's plan to stay in power is just basically he'll cheat, okay? He'll rig the elections, he'll cheat. That's his plan moving forward. And he'll probably get away with it. Okay. Any more questions, guys? All right, so we'll continue this next class, okay?
Yeah, that was a really informational video, man, and it truly is.
Get on the ground.
It's just truly crazy to think about. It, and yeah, we do have to come together for America's sake. You know, like if we're gonna do this and we're gonna be in control, we need to first look at what's going on in our homeland and figure out our division here and unite. Because like he said, the division between Democrat, Republican, whatever, the people who aren't going to want to, basically comply with what's going on, it's going to be a very dangerous game, like he said, and it will backfire. But I see us being able to achieve it if we could find a way to unite, right? Which, whether it's through propaganda or whatever, but I don't know. It's just crazy. I wish, like I said, man, we're all humans in this universe. I don't understand why we can't all work together and try and excel in this world together. It's always got to be some sort of division, some sort of control that has to happen, and it's just ridiculous to me.
In California, Democrats are taking heat for a new bill they're pushing that one lawmaker has now dubbed the Stop Nick Shirley Act. Some people are arguing that the proposed legislation effectively criminalizes investigative journalism. GOP Florida
Yeah, this is wild. We're going to go over this, then I'm get off. I got some videos I got to work on.
Senator and member of the Homeland Security Committee, Ashley Moody, joins me now. You know, fraud has been a big focus for you when you were AG in Florida, and now that you're a senator here in Washington. Give me your reaction to this. I mean, they're basically saying you can't go out and investigate in the way that Nick Shirley did in Minneapolis.
Yeah, this doesn't surprise me at all.
Caleb Middleton says, "See me now, facts, dude. Do you ever worry about civil war or very bad unrest?" Yeah, to be honest, with the way, like when he was talking about a surveilled state and things of that nature, and how digital ID and things like that, yeah, I truly do think that us in America won't go for it. And a lot of people say, well, you won't have a choice. Yeah, kind of do. You look at January 6th and you see how crazy that was. Well, imagine if, all hell broke loose because we're not going to fall. We're not going to let the digital ID happen. The surveillance on everything. We're already surveilled enough. I mean, there's cameras on every highway, so they can track you if you do like any sort of crime. They can track you from A to B. I truly do think that it would come down to that, some sort of civil unrest to where people band together, bear arms, and say, we're not going to do this. This is America. This is against everything we stand for. And this is against, anything our forefathers would have even wanted. We're starting to wake up more and more on how our government is and what's going on. And I truly do think, and this is why I'm stocking up on gold, silver, ammo, things of that nature, because yeah, I mean, I truly do see there being a rebellion against it because we don't want that. This is fucking America. You telling me we're going to have digital ID and it's going to be like in China where if your digital credit score goes down low enough, all your money gets taken away from you and you have to be homeless? Like, I just don't see us falling for it or letting it happen. So I truly do think that if it gets to that point, I mean, look at how it is with some of these places where they're trying to put data centers. Whole towns and whole cities are coming together to stop it. I can't remember where it was where they canceled the one, but data centers don't only pollute, but they take up a bunch of energy from wherever they're at. And it's not a good thing. So yeah, I just truly think there's going to be a point, especially with Epstein files and how people are just like so sick of the way the Epstein files just came out and it seems like no one gives a shit. I think that the last straw will be surveilled, them trying to introduce a surveilled state, digital ID, and social credit score, all this other shit. I truly do think that at the end of the day, we will have a rebellion against that and a little mini civil war to get these people out of power and bring us back to how our forefathers would have wanted this country, you know. And I think if we did that, we'd be a lot more respected from other countries as well. You know, going back to how we wanted to be and maybe trying to be a little bit more diplomatic with other countries and work with them and but right now it's a race for who can control what, because like I said earlier, you know, it's a race to who can conquer who first, who can control this first, because if we don't, they will type situation. And unfortunately, that's just human nature. And that's how it's been for thousands and thousands of years. But, when it comes to infighting and the potential of our country imploding because of us not agreeing with the government and wanting to, change what it is, I truly do think that that is a very, very big possibility. Yes. Yep, I agree, Wisconsin. But yeah, I mean, before it goes up even more, invest in gold, invest in silver. I mean, I invested in some gold, I invested in some silver. I got my necklaces that are made of pure gold, never get diamonds. So it always retains its value. Take care of everything, That's just how I feel.
A lot of, we're uncovering in these commie criminal havens, let's call them, their policies have bankrupted their states, and they've built that in to these structural deficits like California. I think Massachusetts is struggling with deficits. All of these policies that they're implementing don't drive real market-driven prosperity. In fact, it wrecks true markets and the ability of a state to thrive, like Florida, right? Compare and contrast. We run a deficit every year. So then they go and cry to the federal government, we need all these grants, we need all this money, and they push that money out to these.
Thank you so much to Stuck in Reno for the $10 dono. Not much, or it's not much, but much love. Anything is appreciated. Stuck in Reno, it could have been 99 cents, and I would appreciate it just as much. I know times are tough, especially with what's going on. Your guys' subscriptions and likes are perfectly enough, but thank you so much for the donos. As you guys know, the donations help me be able to do this Monday through Friday, and it helps me save up so I can continue to do this as we grow and hopefully become more and more lucrative as time goes. We're going to finish this video going over the Nick Shirley bill, and then I got to get off. I got some videos I'm going to upload. Thank you so much again, Stuck in Reno. I'm going to write your name down right now. God bless you, and thank you so much for the support. I will stand by it. I say it all the time. I have the best community in the world. Thank you so much.
NGOs and other organizations, which through all kinds of grants, health grants, you name it. You saw some of the stuff coming through COVID or even green energy during Biden, just pushing out billions and billions of dollars. And then when you have Americans like Nick Shirley showing up and saying, where's my taxpayer money going? You're using so much of it to shield and cover up what you're pushing to, I would say illegally, to illegal immigration or other things. Now they want to cover it up. They want to stop any way of an American.
I got your name down, Stuck in Reno. Thank you again for the dono. I really appreciate it. I haven't been on for a while, and seeing you guys' support really motivates me. It just truly does.
American taxpayer coming in and demanding transparency. They've already been shutting out Congress and its oversight. They definitely did that during the Biden administration. And now they're seeing Nick Shirley have some success. They're going to try and cover up and block anybody like that from coming in. So it doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, it does make you wonder, like, what are you hiding that you have to pass a law? Here's Nick Shirley, actually. He was just on with Kaylee, and here's his reaction to this bill that's sort of named after him.
So if this passes, the fraud's going to continue to get worse and worse. And if I were to go look into the fraud at one of these NGOs, let's say, that receives money for migrants, I could receive a $4,000 civil fine, a $10,000 criminal fine, or a $50,000 felony. They're basically trying to bankrupt journalists from looking into the fraud.
So, all of us journalists, I mean, I've been a journalist since 2006. I know what I can and can't do. I know, where I'm allowed to go, where I'm not allowed to go. And I would think that being on public property the way that Nick Shirley was in Minneapolis is covered by the First Amendment. I mean, is this bill even legal?
Well, of course it's covered by the First Amendment. And what's crazy is, yeah, this bill is illegal. And if it passes, it just sets a precedent of more and more censoring within journalists or people like me or anyone else who want to talk about things or go out and on the ground report. I mean, it's just a way of trying to cover up their bad tracks.
Right, exactly. I mean, people have the right to talk out report and talk about things that they see wrong. The real challenge in this law also is that they're saying these nonprofits or employees should never be doxxed. They should never be harassed. They're calling it, protecting these. I'm going to say quote unquote employees, although if you remember in Minnesota when he was showing up, nobody was there. There were no employees. It was completely a front. But they want to allow, and think about the irony in this, they want to allow the harassment and the doxing and the threats against law enforcement, but they want to protect people that are scamming American taxpayers. It is absolutely...
And I was watching a video of him this morning trying to ask all the people who signed off on it as they were coming out of whatever government building it was in California. And they all ignored him. And the thing is he said it perfectly. These guys are being paid by our tax money, and they can't even answer a question on a bill they're trying to pass. I mean, it's ludicrous. It is completely ludicrous. See me now, everything you say is on point, man. With every day that goes by, it makes me think instead of Earth, this might be hell. I think we are in heaven, but it's these people who are in power and these PDF files and these people who are compromised and these people who have bad intentions that make it seem like hell. But I feel like when we rise up and we have a sense of unity and we unite and we go against the grain and we really go against the bullshit and we actually, get it fixed or, change things, that's what feels like heaven, right? But yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100%. It's scary. That's why when I was thinking about what I was going to invest in when I got my taxes, because, I've already been doing certain things, but I wanted to put a lot of money towards things because I'm not going to lie. When you cover this stuff every day and you read on things, and it does get scary. And so, yeah, I invested in a total like 10 grams of gold, 100 grams of silver, and I plan on continuing to invest because that's the smart thing. Because once the dollar falls or, everything falls, the only thing that's going to have any value is gold and silver. And that's why, China is investing in a lot of gold. But, I truly think that the American spirit is coming more and more to life. And over the past few years, and we've been waking up. And once what happened to Charlie happened, I feel like just a lot more people are woken up, especially coming up through college and high schools. It used to be when you go to college, you come out dumber, and that's still a thing. But, I feel like kids and people in the youth are waking up a lot more and realizing a lot more than they were before. And that's such a good thing. And I feel like as long as we all continue to do our jobs, like me getting on here every day, talking to you guys, growing the community, growing the channel, and just trying to seek out truth, not being biased, being an independent, calling out bullshit when you see it, I feel like that's a net good for the world. And, I feel like that's what's going to help get these demons the hell out of here.
The reason why California is a failed state, it is that nonsense that they keep inflicting upon their citizens. And it's why from all of these states, they are fleeing to the state of Florida. I mean, we create prosperity among our citizens by good policies. We have a state that is attracting folks from New York, from Illinois, from California, from Minnesota, and not just their citizens, their law enforcement personnel that wants to be respected and giving the tools and resources they need to do their jobs. And so I think that as long as you keep having states like California act with a guttural, political, woke sense in terms of how they're enacting policy with no understanding for how to balance a budget or their bottom line or take care of actual taxpayers that are funding them, you're going to keep having the mass exodus you're seeing to the states that take their stewardship and leadership responsibilities very seriously.
Before I let you go, Senator, I got to ask you, the president was out on the road on his affordability tour again this week. He went to Las Vegas, and then he went to Phoenix, and he's trying to talk about, his big, beautiful bill and all the tax cuts and tax breaks for so many people out there and how popular they are as he tries to shift messaging back to domestic issues. But I want to pull up this map here because it shows that a couple of these Senate races that are currently was supposed to be favored for Republicans have shifted towards Democrats. We're talking about Nebraska, Ohio, North Carolina, and Georgia. The Cook Political Report just shifted them a couple of days ago towards Democrats. So what do you think is going on here? Why do you think Republicans are losing their grip on these Senate races?
Trump.
I think that as long as we are out there talking about the policies that we're implementing that are putting America and Americans first and the results that we've delivered over the last year, we are going to be successful in November. I mean, how long has it been that people have said, we don't need tax on hardworking Americans? Like, stop taxing tips, stop taxing overtime, stop taxing Social Security for our seniors that are often on the most limited income and struggling. And we got that done. We delivered. You know, in my state of Florida, our citizens will receive the highest average tax returns in the nation. And I got that done and passed that with Republican leadership and this president in my first year as a United States Senator. So, you know, we just need to make
Is it
sure
a
we're
messaging
communicating. I was just going to say that. We need to make sure we're communicating what we're doing to deliver on policies that are affecting Americans, American lives, and American interests. We're doing it. We're getting things done. We need to just make sure we're better about touting how we've delivered those over the last year.
Okay. Great to have you on, Senator. Always great to see you.
All right, guys, I appreciate y'all for being on. I'm going to get off, but I do have to say one thing before I do get off, man. You know, with the way the world is right now, make sure you guys are educating people. And a lot of people don't want to hear it. A lot of these people that believe in certain ways or believe in certain ideologies don't want to hear another one. They don't give a crap. They're stuck in their ways. But the best thing you can do is sit there and try to at least talk to people, spread the word, educate your family, stay informed yourself, invest in good things, invest in the future. Don't just look close to what's close to you. Look past your nose and actually see, whoa, maybe I should stockpile this or invest in this or, work on this, because that's what's going to make the change. And that's what's really going to get us from, off the path we're on, I feel like. And I feel like we were on a good path, but something changed. And I'm not sure how to word correctly what changed, but all I got to say is that the power is within us. There's a lot more of us than there is them. And the power is within us, the people, to be responsible enough to support each other and make sure you build your sense of community and talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, spread the word of God and spread the word of righteousness and love and prosperity and, spread patriotism. I think that's the biggest thing we need right now is the spread of patriotism and just constant, family values, brotherhood, sisterhood, just Americanism, just being American, the sense of country, the sense of greatness. That's what we need to bring back. Have a wonderful day, Stacy. Let me shout out all my donors for the day. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. Jessica, thank you for the 5. Stacy, thank you for the 2. Stuck in Reno, thank you for the 10. I do truly appreciate you guys. You guys and the support you give this channel is what helps me continue to do this and what helps this channel grow. We're only going to continue to grow and get better. If you guys want to support me outside of here, go to the link in my bio, go to my Ko-Fi and donate through there. YouTube does take a brutal 30%, so if you want to donate through somewhere that doesn't take as much of a cut, go to Ko-Fi and support the channel there and support your boy there. God bless everybody. Thank you, Stuck in Reno. And that's right. We're back like crack, son. Hit you like a heart attack. You better hit the notification bell so you know when to come back, or I'm going to have to get your ass. I love you guys. Much love. I appreciate you. I try and give the best message I can. Thank you, Wisconsin, for